Onyx.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Monday the 7th of May 2018. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
The Return of Summer, Part 2.
And Robert Kemp.
So drained.
We
The
said it was going to
draining
go
power
away,
of the
and
sun.
it basically did between these two podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, the 2 weeks in between last podcast and this podcast have been kind of shitty.
Yeah.
The 2 days that we've been podcasting on, insanely hot.
Yeah.
It's
I hate it
actually
'cause
ridiculously hot.
yeah, it's properly hot today. It's like, even if it wasn't for my usual sort of like, I'm normally at my worst when it has that transition from cold to hot. But the fact that it's gone from cold to really hot,
And back again and back again.
yeah, I'm feeling it. Like my energy levels just drop completely.
It's funny having a nice long weekend. Oh, opportunity to like get some stuff done and sort your life out. Except no, because sun says no. You can't do anything.
Sun said no. Yeah, I went out in it for a lot of yesterday,
But
and
it did mean that you had to do your barbecue cleaning, as you previously discussed last
This is
podcast.
true. I did clean
Because
the barbecue
barbecues
this
need to
morning.
happen, apparently.
Before it got hot. Basically, I cleaned the barbecue.
Okay, that's the one thing that does have to happen when the sun
Yeah.
comes.
Get that out of the way. As long as once it's cleaned that one time at the start of the season, then it can basically stay not clean for the rest of it.
For the rest, yeah.
You only have to get rid of the green bits. Oh, it was disgusting.
The green bits.
Oh,
What bits of green?
bits of it had molded, basically. Like stuff was growing on in the underside, inside the drum.
So food had fallen down and then since grown.
Basically, yeah. I think it was things were just growing in fat.
Right.
Yeah. It was pro skank. Slightly less skank now. As in, it's, cook worthy.
It's now usable.
For the record, none of the actual, just in case Zach's now fearing for his life, like all of the like sort of actual grill bits, the bits the food actually touches, they were fine.
Didn't you
Yeah.
pick them out and clean them before you
Exactly.
put it away last year?
Exactly. Yes, they're all good.
I mean, I'm sure a whole
It's
bunch of spores and shit were
Yeah.
flying up onto them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I've burnt it off. Like, I cleaned it all out and did all that, and then ran the burners for a while, so everything should be dead.
Nice. I was watching a video the other day and it had some fancy gas barbecue things that had like temperature probes on the outside that you could put in the food when you close the grill top that
That's
would
cool.
sense the temperature. And what's more, they would also, of course, send that
Turn the burners
temperature.
off. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
they'd
no, to
send
your
that
phone.
temperature to your phone.
Oh,
So you can monitor your sausage from your phone.
of course.
You want LEDs on the outside to light up and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
temperature gauge on the outside of the thing. That would be much cooler.
Yeah, that would be
But
cool.
you want it to have a little flashy, for it to flash. And it's like, there's a sausage that needs removing. If I could set, some kind of warning to be like, your steak is ready. Take it out now.
Yeah.
That would be kind of nice.
But not on your phone, ideally.
Well, no, because it would probably buzz in my pocket, but I've probably already got skanky barbecue hands. at
Yeah,
that
you don't
point.
want to be
Yeah.
on
You know
your
what I
phone
mean?
whilst you're
Yeah.
managing cooking food.
Unless
Yeah.
I've
You don't have someone else do it, or
But-
just prop it up on a table.
or I've been really organised and set up like a Bluetooth speaker near the barbecue that will just shout things at me. So, steak, get the steak. Your halloumi's burning. I suppose you wouldn't be able to sense that. It's not
It'd
really
probably
when you do
be-
halloumi, you can't really wedge your
Temperature
Runner.
probe in a halloumi, no.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could. I don't know if it would be worth it.
You'd have to put, even though it would be dark in there with the lid closed, like you'd probably have to have some sort of, what's the surface colour of the halloumi looking like? Set up some kind of precision monitor to be like, nope, still yellow, still good. Oh, it's gone black. You've gone too far. Take it back. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Barbecue.
So, have you got your food in ready for
Got
queuing?
some fuds. Got some classic bugs and sauce.
Durgers.
Some burgers.
Some burgers.
Got some burgers and sages. I mean, you can't really shorten sausages, can you? Or dogs. Just say
Sausages.
dogs or something.
Yeah, that's what
Well, yeah.
people do. Chili dogs.
That's for hot dogs, though, really.
Yeah, they're not really like
Not sausages.
not really a British sausage hot dog, is it? It's like it's a wiener, a dog,
The sauce.
sauce.
Bangers.
Bangers,
Not really short of the
Not really
sausages.
shorter.
banging bangers, in a banging banger bun. Banger bun.
Oh.
If there's that phrase, I quite like that phrase. Banger bun. Just sounds fun to say.
I like this thing that I just came up with.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like there are certain things that are just fun to say, right? It's just like,
Well, hot dog is quite fun, but maybe
hot
banger
dog.
banger bun is more fun.
I don't know. There's
Just
something about
switch.
maybe the H sound doesn't necessarily strike me as a fun sound.
No, it's a serious business-like
All your
sound.
phonetics way fun.
Whereas just B's and hard consonants, like a banger bun.
Okay. Look forward to some banger buns later in the summer from your
With some
grill.
bangers in them.
Yeah, with some banging bangers in your banger buns.
Well, sure, the banger bun is just the bun for the banger.
Yeah, it could be, or it could just be the whole thing.
Oh,
Call
wait.
that,
Oh, well, oh,
call
wait.
that a banger bun,
Oh wait, we're calling it a banger bun in the same way that they call it like a cinnabon or something.
I guess.
Yeah,
What, all one word?
yeah, a banger bun.
Banger bun.
It's like brand name. TM, banger bun.
Banger buns. I mean, even hot dog isn't one word, is it? No.
Oh, they might. Do they hyphenate it?
Depends, I think.
Depends
People
on what.
over hyphenate. I'm very tempted to hyphenate everything when I'm writing these days, and it probably is mostly unnecessary. I have to stop
you left
myself
with
from
any-
It's
hyphenating.
90% unnecessary. I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Though nine out of 10 times, I'm like, I should probably remove that hyphen. Why did I put that there?
Isn't there actually like I can't remember. I think I was reading Google's brand rules for some reason over the last 2 weeks. Like
As
there
you
was
do.
something about there was something about Google not allowing its employees to use the word Google as a verb.
Right, yeah.
Right,
like
fair.
they would always say search with Google.
Yeah.
As a thing.
Yeah.
But in as part of that document, they were saying things like, what was it? Don't hyphenate if you're using it as a verb. Hyphenate if you're using it as a noun for words that you would say either way. I can't remember what the example was, but there was probably some sort of techy, sort of markety type sounding things that are used as both nouns and verbs, and it was like do verbs one way and nouns the other way.
Weird. What would you hyphenate with Google? Googleplex or something? Or I don't know.
Maybe it's sort of phrases like I don't know when you know how it's not one of those phrases, but like, when you can be shortchanged or you can shortchange someone, right? Noun and
Right,
verb,
yeah.
Or no, they're both verbs. Sorry, I've got that totally wrong. Carry on.
Does that have a hyphen? No, that's one word, isn't it?
No,
Short change.
yeah. But I'm sure it's like words a bit like that.
But it presumably came from the words, separate words, like you're short on change, as in
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's like the one that always throws me, I guess, is setup.
Right.
I suppose like the noun or the process, I suppose, is one word, right? But when you're actually doing it, it's
You set
two
something
words.
up. Right.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I really
You're
don't know.
doing
about
the setup. It might be one word, or it's like, but you are set up rather than you are set up.
I mean,
Something like that. Like,
that-
again, that's not necessarily a verb and noun split up either. That's like these two different nouns that do two different things. But
definitely a weird one.
yeah,
Etymology class.
cucumber. It's a stupid word. That's what I say.
Well, my flatmate is from New Zealand, and whenever we have a barbecue, she's always cooking zucchinis on the barbecue. It's quite weird.
It's courgettes. Huh?
Yeah, courgettes.
Zucchini does sound a lot more exotic.
They're not very exotic. That's the problem. If they were like
No.
exotic things, that would be cool to call them a cool name. But no,
Some
they're
kind
quite
of-
boring.
Like some kind of vibrant fruit.
Yeah, zucchini
zucchini.
sounds like pretty like tropical. or
Hey, would you like a zucchini in your cocktail? A little cheeky zucchini?
something. No, I do not want a courgette.
A little,
In my
cheeky
cocktail,
zucchini?
giant courgette, like going
Oh yeah, like I said, not a slice.
like a whole courgette.
Wodge.
Watched in there. Zucchini.
It'd probably only work in like a cocktail that's served in a pint glass or like
Yeah.
in the side. One.
Yeah.
And then what? They hollow it out, and that's your straw.
Well, you just hollow it out and drink out of it.
Yeah.
Use that as the
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Maybe.
Use it like a test tube or something.
Well, I look forward to your zucchini cocktails.
Zucchini cocktails. Coming to a bar nowhere soon. Any other how's your kitchening?
My kitchening.
Yeah, your cooking.
Yeah, it's fine. The problem is
trains the cooking.
the problem is not the cooking. It's like having enough people often enough, as in two, in the house at the same time on like
To make the
weeknights.
cooking viable.
Yeah, because like random nights we're just doing random things in London, and there's always I can't even guarantee 2 nights a week where we're at home. So that makes it a little bit more awkward.
You wild man, you.
So I've got like a
Just have to
stack of
eat both
things to cook.
portions.
Well, that's the problem. I can't quite. There's actually quite a lot for 2, depending on which one it is. You can't really eat both portions very easily.
Or any of it like, Tupperwareable.
Yeah, I
So you
Tupperware
could just-
some chili the other day,
Especially chili's the easy one.
which was quite nice. I haven't eaten it though because I've got other things to eat.
There's chili in my freezer right now.
Yeah,
From like months ago.
yeah,
That's funny.
That gnome can't quite bring herself to eat. Because she didn't like it. She made some chili she didn't like. So it's like, oh, well, I won't eat all of this now. I'll come back.
Oh, did you like it then?
No, I haven't eaten it. I wasn't here.
Oh right. So you might
why-
unfreeze it and be like, oh, this is what
This
she's
is the-
right.
this is the
This
skank
wasn't.
chili.
This is not nice.
But at least now I won't know if it's skank because of the length of time in the freezer,
Or
as
just
opposed
because
to
it was
skank
originally
because of
skank.
original skank. Yeah.
Right. Fully original skank. Yeah. Probably need a few more bits of equipment and stuff, but
Mm.
just because I'm using some quite skanky old saucepans and stuff, might as well get some proper ones. But otherwise, good. The main thing, like I say, was getting a Sonos speaker so I could listen to music.
The proper sandwich soundtrack.
Exactly. Very important. Although by
You
the
like-
time that if I put an album on the Spotify, then if it's a short one, like only like a 35-minute album, then when it runs out, it's actually quite awkward to like start any more music playing again. I need to sort out like a playlist bit ahead of time because by that point I'm like got food hands, just as you were
Can't
saying.
you
with
just
the
shout at
barbecue.
your phone to be like, "Hey Siri, shuffle some stuff."
I probably could. I don't really use Siri. Yeah, I probably could. Or I could have got a Sonos with an Alexa in it, I suppose, and then I could have shouted
Yeah.
at it. Yeah, but I didn't. I guess I could probably shout at the Google Home and tell it to play stuff from Spotify on the speaker. That might actually work.
You'd have to get that all paired up ahead of time, but yeah, you
I
probably
think,
could.
yeah, I think it probably might even just
I think there
already
are-
work.
I think there are some limitations with that stuff, like unless you've got like a hub or something in order to be able to. I think when I was looking into this some time ago now, it was like, well, how easy would it be to actually tell one of these things that could listen to me to send sound to a specific location?
Yeah,
And it's like with Sonos that might be all right,
Mm.
like because I guess that's what it's designed for.
exactly.
But if you're going a bit ad hoc like me, then it's like I wouldn't necessarily be able to. I'd have to. I don't know how I would be able to train it to say send the sound to this thing, because the thing would normally start playing it, right? The thing you were talking to.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've had that before. That's quite annoying when it starts playing on the Google Home, which obviously has a crappy speaker.
Mm.
Yeah, it's slightly awkward to try and get it to play on the correct thing. I have trouble because I've got that sound bar thing, which is great,
Sure.
and I can get Spotify to play directly out of that. But Google Home always wants to turn on the Chromecast and turn on the TV and then play out of the speaker, which works the same. But I don't necessarily want the TV on. Although it
No,
does
no.
show some quite cool visuals sometimes from Spotify on the TV. Like it will show it's a little bit like watching Top of the Pops 2 sometimes. It starts telling you random trivia about the album and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I reckon like someone like HelloFresh or whatever, they should just be able to put an app out, right, where it just plays your music or something, but every now and then interjects with, don't forget the peas.
Yeah, they definitely could. I could do with it. Don't forget the peas sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Would you want it in a sort of like friendly Alexa style voice or a somewhat menacing Greg Wallace voice? Here's the other question. Don't forget the peas. Cooking
you should be able to select,
right?
You should be able to choose maybe
it depends on the difficulty of the dish you're making. Like if you've got an easy one, then it's like Alexa style. But if you've got like a MasterChef grade, it's Greg Wallace. Yeah.
To be honest, they're all pretty easy so far. They do have a little skill level rating, but they're mostly like 2 stars out of 3.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
You will find this a breeze. Now mash those spuds, slave.
Yeah, exactly. I've done a few spud mashing, so that's a good point. I should probably get a new masher. I don't really like.
I'm still not going to sort that out. We talked about this last time. Get a masher.
Masher.
It's life changing.
Just writing down the word masher.
Masher. Just to go with your banger buns, you need a good masher.
Exactly.
You need to mash the banger buns.
This is all starting to sound a bit like a rave, isn't it?
Any kitchen bitching on your end?
Not really. Other than, the dishwasher is occasionally doesn't dishwash.
Classic dishwasher problem.
Yeah, well, it's just like some of it is just that someone else in this house is bad at playing dishwasher Tetris. But
yeah, that really annoys me, honestly. Like when people put things like glasses like up, the wrong way up, so they're not facing down, and then the pools of disgusting dishwasher crap get in there, and then the cutlery tray has nice slots to put everything in, but people just shove shit randomly so that the spoons collect little bits of dishwasher shit, don't wash properly.
So that's the one we have to make a weird compromise on, because our cutlery is too, like the little thing that went over the top of the cutlery didn't really allow for that much cutlery to actually go in it.
Right.
So by the time we put the dishwasher on, there's more cutlery than there is space to put cutlery. So we've had to take the hood off it effectively just to jam more cutlery in there. But then, you end up with that situation where if you're not careful and you're not like putting things at angles and being across each other and stuff like that, then you're going to get the odd dark spot where it's like this clearly isn't going to clean properly. And also, it's just like where do you put the bigger knives and the bigger utensils? It's like where is those supposed to go in a way that they don't like stick up too far and hit the rotatey bits?
I don't know. I just put them in the bottom and just top tray, laying in the top tray.
That's what we do, or we put them on the weird plastic bits that come down that are supposed to hold all your wine glasses.
Yeah, the wine glass ones. Yeah,
these are clearly designed for the middle classes, aren't they? It's just
well, my problem with that stuff is that I can only fit my pint glass things on one side of the top tray because the other side isn't high enough, and then it hits the thing. But for some reason, I'm the only person who
bits not like raising lower. So they
fold out of the way, but the plasticky bits are only on the right hand side in my one.
I see.
Which is the deeper one that actually fits like wine glasses and pint glasses when you fold the plasticky bits out of the way. But for some reason, I'm the only one who seems to notice that this is the only place where the pint glasses fit. So people just put them randomly, like even in the bottom section, and it's like, oh man, I don't know.
It's like you're taking that valuable plate and pan room. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like. The pint glasses go on the right, and then the left-hand side is the right size for like mugs. So you put mugs there, tumblers or whatever. Like it's pretty obvious stuff.
Yeah,
but never
mind. I'm in two minds about some of it. Like there are times where it's like, okay, maybe I want these. Like I could put these plates closer together without them touching, but then does the water actually get through it?
Yeah, I know.
To actually clean it. So it's like you got to make some room. And then we've got some plates that are just a bit too tall, really. Yeah. So it's just like, but they're going to hit the rotatey bits, which isn't necessarily a problem. They bend out of the way a bit as they glide past, so that's probably not so bad. But I probably need to put those on the edge just to be safe. or do I go the other way and just lay them more flat, which then reduces the amount of stuff we can put in? Because we try not to run it like after every time we cook, and maybe that's what we should be doing. We should just run it every day,
right?
But
with less in it,
taking the eco stance and just running it when we need to. Yeah, the eco stance on the eco mode. And it's just like, we don't need to put so many tabs in it.
But then that's what I always said about regular washing up, and you always bitch about that.
Was that what about?
You wash up when you're pretty much out of stuff to use.
Yeah, but that creates the other problem that you then end up with like no worktop space, and it gets all skank. It's like because I'm like at least with the dishwasher, like you can be loading, so your dishwasher you're getting your worktop space back, like yeah, that's true. It becomes your skank pile, just in a conveniently large drawer.
I always wash up straight away.
Just have a drawer in your cupboard that's just for skank?
I mean, or if you have enough workspace to have a space for skank.
Yeah.
Unlike your kitchen, which doesn't really.
No.
Or it could, if some of your other stuff was slightly better organised, maybe.
But maybe, probably. But yeah, we've just got, as is usual with us, just too much stuff. I have a tendency to just but then just
have 30 plates for no reason.
Yeah, we have a lot of plates. We got given a lot of plates, in fairness. That wasn't even like a wedding gift.
No,
that was we just got given a lot of plates randomly.
Like, we had most of those when we were living in the house with just us.
What the red ones?
We had like way too many plates at that point. Not as many as you have now, but still too many.
Yeah, you're probably right. But I think we had lots of different plates. I don't even know what happened to half of those. They're probably at Kippers's. Like,
some of them probably remained with the house.
Yeah, my brother's probably got them all. The excess. He's very much the same way in that. Well, he falls into all of the camps we've just talked about, basically, in that he has far too much kitchen stuff.
And doesn't wash it up until
doesn't wash any. Yeah, it's like it is max skank before anything gets done.
Right.
And at which point, there's probably nowhere for the clean stuff to go.
Apart from back in the cupboard.
Well, I hope you know.
Where the space is, because there's nothing in there any longer.
Unless they're using the cupboards for the skank.
I don't think they're using the cupboards for the skank. I don't think anyone actually does that.
No. Can you imagine? That'd be really, really awkward because then you'd have to somehow clean your cupboards out.
Well, the skank wouldn't transfer that much.
Yeah, skank transfer.
Maximum skank.
Max skank, yeah.
It's like one of the armor modes from Crisis.
if Crisis was about UK garage.
Yeah.
He's skanking. You take your left hand.
Maximum.
I knew that was coming. I was thinking it, and I was like, I'm not going to say it. Let's just see if Rob says it. And he did.
Step 2, you take your right hand. Step 2.5, you look around slightly shiftily, see if there's any cops where you're filming your skank vids. Step 3, put both hands on your head.
Then
then there's no more instructions. You just got to migraine skank it. I assume that means once your hands are on your head, any action is technically defined as a skank.
I guess. Well, the migraine skank.
The migraine skank, yeah. Did you do the migraine skank?
Right. Have you got any bitching, Zeg, or is it time for the news?
No, it's time for our obligatory film section.
Oh yeah.
I was tempted to watch a film because there was a couple of times when I was like, I have access to the TV and I can be like, I can.
Of course, you've got that Now TV.
Yeah, dig through the Now TV thing and see what's on there, but there was nothing actually interesting. I was like, well, I guess not then.
You couldn't drag yourself to watch episode 1 then?
No, I did also look at that because that's on I think they're Blu-rays, not even DVDs. So I wouldn't even be able to take them upstairs and play them on my computer. I would actually have to use the TV for that.
Why were they watching episode 1? Oh, well.
They just go through all of them.
Yeah, we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
But maybe this is the lead up to when episode 7 gets purchased.
Oh, I see.
We're pre going back through all 6 of the other ones.
They're catching up, yeah.
Then 7, then 8. I guess.
As time goes on, I feel more and more unhappy about 8.
I still haven't watched it,
Yeah.
so we still can't talk about it.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons I was looking at Now TV, because I was like, is it on there yet? No. Oh,
No,
still.
I think it's only just come out on Sky, in fairness.
Yeah, it must be about you. It seems like about the right amount of time since when I watched 7 on the same thing.
Hmm.
It's like it seems like it's been about the same amount of time afterwards.
Yeah.
I should probably watch it again
next week, isn't it? Or
Yeah, I
2
think
weeks
so.
time? Yeah.
quite soon. But yeah, I didn't like 8 when it came out, but I should probably give it another chance.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to say I saw that Avengers thing.
Yeah, me too. I saw it Saturday. On Saturday. I just skipped the word on there.
Yeah. All I'll say is bold ending. Bold. I guess they had to because of the comics and stuff.
Kind of saw that coming, but
Yeah.
from the trailer. But yeah, it was
True.
I enjoyed it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I think they did what they possibly did the best job they could, given the mess it was always going to be.
The ridiculous amount of characters that they have to involve.
But it does. Oh yeah, it's just the where they go from here over the next few years before the next one.
Well, the next one is like in a year, right? This is like basically a two-parter.
But they've still got a year's worth of stuff, and it's like, yes, the next Ant-Man film is coming around the corner, and it's weirdly not in that timeline. It's like way earlier.
The other one is Captain Marvel. I think it's set in like 1992 or something, so it isn't affected.
Yeah, so they're not clashing. Interesting. Which is the first time I think they've done that. They've gone a bit out of sequence, apart from Captain America, I guess. But
I guess nothing.
The same problem that always happens with these things, where they eventually, when you merge everything together too much, you just make such a big mess where you're just like, well, now we've completely fucked up our timeline so badly. There's no opportunity. It's just like Mass Effect and everything, where it's like if you make an ending and then you're like, oh, actually, we still want to make something continue after that, but we kind of can't because we've dug a giant hole and put ourselves in it.
Well, they'll dig out of that hole next year. They just have to wait for next year.
Well, yeah, they've been saying for years, or there's been rumours flying around for years, that they're entering the point where most of the actors that have been doing this for 10 years are kind of don't want to anymore, or
but it's
want
time
to do less work, so they need to rotate in more people that can take up the helm.
Yeah,
and it's
that's what they're doing, though, right?
Yeah. It is sort of that changing of the guard right now.
Basically, this means a lot of people are going to die.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, yes, but no, that's not really a spoiler. They have to do that.
That's obvious.
Yeah. But it's the question of how and who, and at the moment, some of those choices have been surprising. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but it's clearly not decided, is it?
No, obviously not.
Yeah, but still, I
bold way to finish though. Bold way.
Yeah, it was cool. It was well done, I thought. And I thought that they actually, after like hyping up Thanos for like 10 years basically, and him having no character at all so far, they actually managed to make him have quite a good character.
He was interesting.
He was somewhat interesting, despite the fact that like they had to have screen time for every single one of their heroes, along with making a villain that had no character at all at the start, stand out. So which I think they did pretty well. I mean, obviously, like
because he's played with a lot more nuance and a lot softer than I anticipated.
Yeah, exactly.
And I couldn't quite figure out if I found that more or less menacing, if you know what I mean, because that soft touch can be really creepy, right?
Yeah, it can be. He's still a giant purple space monster, though. Like at the end of the day. Yeah.
Genital chin joke and all that.
Yeah, with the ridiculous chin.
Yeah, he's not Galactus. No,
Galactus will.
Now that the
definitely
X-Men
get involved,
is now,
though, I'm sure.
Yeah, now Fox is under Disney's wing. It's like the X-Men can now start to properly happen, and
I think
Galactus will turn up eventually.
Thanos
giant villains.
Giant villains. Yeah,
he's meant to be more powerful than Galactus once he's got the Infinity Gauntlet, I think.
Yes, that's true.
It's the whole point of this Infinity Stage, right? It's just lots of power. Doesn't matter about how big you are.
He's got monogram and everything.
Bring in Transformers, then we can get.
Bring in Transformers? What? Put Transformers in the MCU?
Sure. Then we can have whatever the fuck that stupid planet eater in Transformers is called. I forget.
Oh, mate, yeah.
Galactus is a planet eater, isn't he?
Yeah. But it's like the Transformers one is bigger. You just have to keep scaling up, like Star Wars.
Right.
You need to come up with a bigger Death Star.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel has like doesn't Marvel have characters that are like the universe, right? Eternity.
Well,
Isn't
Galactus
Eternity
is
the
kind of
same?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
but
it's like
Galactus is an
Silver
entity
Surfer was-
in the universe, right? Isn't there like the judges, right? The order guy and the chaos guy and like
Yes,
eternity.
they-
and-
overarching powers.
Yeah, I guess there are. They do toy with the idea of, I suppose, godly. Like they use the word gods here and there, like
yeah,
throwaway. But there are sort of elements of, hey, yeah, these are the people that are actually sort of somewhat keeping the universe in the balance forever.
I mean, the one in the MCU that was probably the most powerful so far, they didn't really do much with, which is, I think Odin is supposed to be like way more powerful than like
Yeah,
more powerful than Thor, and like way more. And Thor is by far the most powerful of the like superheroes, like in the Avengers. He's
yes.
way more powerful. He's pretty OP. And what did you think of Peter Dinklage?
That was possibly the best idea. For what? No, let's call him a dwarf, but make him massive.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Spoilers, sorry, but it's cool.
I like that Rocket Raccoon had an adventure with Thor. That was cool.
Well, I think there's more to that. I think we'll see more of that pairing.
I hope
And,
so. I think that works quite well.
Well, because they set it up, like they did all the setup for that, right? With Thor Ragnarok basically being a Guardians film, but without the Guardians.
What, in the sense of it was a
Its
comedy?
style and how it's and you know the neon style and the fact that it's effectively a space adventure with some Asgard in it. It's it all sort of came back around to those two things being more closely related than initially thought possible.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was the route to take. Anyway, yeah, interesting to see where they go from here. Oh, and I got really excited for some of that end stinger. Again, I'm not going to say what it was, but a bit of me was like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, what were you hoping for? I guess you can't say.
Can't say.
Okay, fair enough. Right, yeah, go and see that.
No.
If assuming you've seen all the other films, otherwise don't.
Yeah,
probably.
otherwise it's going to be a bit wasted on you.
Yeah,
You do need to have kind of seen most of them.
but that's okay. This is like the first time it's actually like fully like a comic book. Like this is what comic books are actually like these days. Like ridiculous crossover events and all that shit.
Sure, and they can just keep. They've set things up so well that they can just keep doing whatever the hell they want, and I'll lap it up. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's as long as these big events are not all they are.
Yeah.
They do the classy thing where they scale back and do the small scale story, and then they'll do the big scale story, and they're all just as good as each other. So success.
They might have gone quite big quite quickly with Spider-Man though. But I guess we'll see.
I bet that was just. There's a sort of air of the opportunities here. We kind of have to.
Yeah.
To it. Given that again, I don't know if this is walking into spoiler territory. Given that neither Hawkeye nor Ant-Man are in this one.
No.
Which are sort of somewhat obvious omissions.
I can't remember what happened to Hawkeye.
Well, he sort of went and didn't he go just saying, "Hey, I've got to spend time with my family now."
Yeah, I think he did, didn't he? Yeah.
It's just like I'm out, kind of.
Fair enough. I mean, he's just like just a guy with some arrows, so.
Yeah, but he's got really good arrows.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
We're done here.
News time.
Let's wrap it up. Let's go get barbecue. No, wait. There's the actual point of this podcast to go.
Which is?
Yes.
Not anything interesting in news.
Yes.
It's still not E3 yet.
No.
What do we got?
Everything's still a bit quiet. I suppose, biggest news of the lot is that Red Dead trailer. Really.
And that isn't even really news. It's just like, there's a story trailer for Red Dead.
It looks like a Rockstar game.
It really does. Picking out some details from there. I mean, it clearly had John Marston in it, I think.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool.
Or someone that looked a lot like him anyway.
Yeah.
But
I think so that might be cool. predicting the start of his story, or maybe the
I was
start.
thinking about the sort of whole setting of this and like the Wild West in general. Isn't like the Wild West as it really stood only like a period of like 30 or 40 years?
That's what they say.
Yeah,
about
that's
Jonah,
right.
Don't they? They're
Yeah.
like, it's coming to an end.
But then,
Yeah.
like, so I guess so. In John Marston's storyline, it must have been quite near the start. Is that the idea? Because then, like, for his kid to have grown up and have then gone on some
Well, the
revenge
kid growing
rampage,
up
then that
really
must have
doesn't
been-
make much sense, I don't think.
Yeah, I was
because
about to say, 'cause
the
that must be out of time, right?
Yeah, I think so. The main Red Dead story takes place really late. It's like 1909 or something, which is like the West is basically already dead at that point. So it's like right on the absolute end. So it's a little bit weird because, like, as someone pointed out on Reddit, like this new one, this latest trailer says it's 1899, the West is coming to an end, right? And it's like they already did that theme with Red Dead, because this is a prequel. I thought that Red Dead 2 would be like in the prime of the West, but they're still going with, okay, this is the end of the West, which is kind of a bit weird that they're like doing that again. 10 years earlier. Yeah. So who knows? But I guess the idea
Maybe
is
they're
that,
not as far west. Like,
well, that's just it.
We're in
Yeah.
the wild sort of east. The wild
Well, it
Midwest.
is more in the center of America, I think, or the frontier. By the time of Red Dead, the first game is like pretty much right all the way to the Mexican border and all the way out to the desert or whatever. So I think, this one at least will be. It sounds like their
probably
outlaw
no
gang is
Bandito.
being chased right around, chased out of. As civilization starts to assert itself in like the west of America rather than like down in Texas and Arizona and stuff.
My American geography is kind of bad. So this is more sort of Arizona. Are we heading that way? No, that's further.
still
left,
quite
isn't
far
it?
down.
Yeah.
It's more. I think it'll be more like Rocky Mountains type, or like
Okay.
more Indian reservation kind of, not reservation, but Indian territory type.
It did seem like it was a little less orange and a little more sort of brown green.
I think it will be, but it will probably still have all that area from the original game as well. So because I think it's just
You
going to be
reckon?
pretty big. Yeah, it looked like from leaks from a while back that like the map includes the original map, but then just goes a lot
But then add
farther
some.
north. Yeah,
Because I do hope there'll be some Mexican banditos.
yeah. I mean, you
Like,
got to have that
gotta
spaghetti
have a bit
western
of
stuff.
Mexican.
Yeah.
I really want to see. I can never remember that guy's name, but you know the guy from the first Ant-Man film who, the world's happiest Mexican, basically.
Right. Okay.
I
know the
kind of
guy
want
you
him.
mean.
I kind of want him to be in everything. It's like
Yeah.
this seems like a good fit.
Guess so.
World's happiest Mexican.
So yeah, and that's still coming. So Red Dead. What other news we got? You can use your Nintendo Pro controller with Steam. It's coming soon with full official support, which is pretty good.
When you say full official, like a bit of me is like, does that mean Steam have done that work? Or do you
Yeah,
reckon
it looks like it's
Ninty
Steam.
have actually opened the gates to say, yeah, you can do that?
Well, maybe behind the scenes they've got an agreement with Nintendo, but Steam have implemented it into Steam itself.
Yeah,
So it should work perfectly with all Steam games that work that way.
it's good that they've done the work on that because,
Yeah.
as I said, when I've tried to use, I can use my Wii U Pro controller as an Xbox controller, but the solution is kind of jank. It doesn't quite work as well as you would hope, and it registers itself as X input. It registers itself in the sort of like the 4 quadrants of Xbox controllers or whatever. It sort of would say, yeah, your Wii U controller is one of those. But the moment you then turn another Xbox controller on, the whole thing falls apart. So
Right.
it's like it's doing something behind the scenes that screws with X input rather than properly emulates it, I suppose, or properly behaves it. Whereas if this works neater and fits into all that, so you can use the Pro controller and all your other controllers alongside it, I'm all in. That's great. That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then that means you'll have a functioning controller.
Well, there is that.
A functioning controller.
There is that, yeah. Although, no analog triggers,
No.
so it might still might not be totally. Well, then it might be okay for Rocket League. I don't know because Rocket League is on the
Well,
Switch.
it's like, I guess, like, you don't realise how much analog you're using, probably.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I could just get the Wii U controller out and see how much analog I'm really using, but yeah. Still, it's a damn fine controller.
Yeah.
So, it'd be interesting to see if anyone does have, like, well, I suppose, are there any games that use the Steam controller's gyro stuff? Like, if it will be supporting the Wii, not Wii, I keep wanting to call it the Wii controller, the Switch Pro controller's gyro stuff.
I mean, I think there's some that support like the DualShock gyro stuff, and that should work the same, I guess.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
You keep forgetting DualShock does that.
Yarp. What else we got? Episode 1 Racer is now available on Good Old Games.
Yeah.
It's a new lap record.
It didn't seem like it needed that much work because I'm pretty sure I had it running regularly.
It looks like they haven't done that much, but it clearly works. I think it might be limited to like 4:3 unless you tweak the resolution a little bit.
Someone's probably made a hack for it.
Well, most of the time those Good Old Games builds or whatever, they're usually kind of like you still have to tweak them if you want to make it actually work the way you want it.
Yeah.
They just make it playable enough. Yeah.
They make it run. Yeah.
Still, that was a cool game. Like, I think it has a very strong first impression. You know, sure, I didn't think some of the track design was all that interesting towards the later stages, especially.
I don't know, some of them. I don't know if it was the visual design maybe, but the track design were kind of fucked up in some cases.
Yeah.
They were actually almost too complicated.
Yeah, I think that's what I sort of mean. They sort of.
Well, you're just riding the brake quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't necessarily the visual language to properly tell you where the track was going.
Yeah.
Which I find with a lot of old races, if I go back to them, it's just like, oh, you know what? There isn't.
Well, it's because
you might see it when the Revolt video goes up, like, but there really is very little actual like language to tell you where the tracks go.
Well, it's like that and episode 1, they don't have in-world things to tell you where the track is. They just have an icon that's like, go straight, maybe, and that's up to you to work out what that actually means.
Which in Revolt's case makes a little bit of sense because, you know, they're trying to make it feel like these cars are just driving around environments, right? They're not driving around organised racetracks or anything, whereas episode 1 is racetracks in weird-ass places.
They do occasionally have signs and stuff in episode 1, just maybe not. Once it goes into the backlands where there's not as much, where it's not as much of a laid-out track, it's like, I'm just driving through this ice cave and hopefully I'm going vaguely
in the right direction.
Vaguely in the right direction to get through it. There's multiple paths that overlap, so even the mini-map isn't that helpful because it's just a big mass of crossing lines and you're on one of them.
Yes. Still, it's a fun game. And it didn't have the weird thing where it's like, always put your nose down.
Yeah.
So always push forward.
You always have to push forward. It's a nightmare to play on practically any controller, which is very annoying.
Yeah, that was such a weird decision, that one.
Why you had to use a flight yoke. Because that's the one type of controller you can push forwards on continuously.
I guess you could do it like with like a racing wheel, but instead of using the pedals to go fast, you just
have
put
that on the tilt axis. I guess that would probably work.
Just have it so your foot's pretty much always on the accelerator.
I mean, that is basically the accelerator. The nose down makes you go faster, and when you nose up, it slows you down. So that functionally still works from pedals on a wheel, I guess.
Couldn't you just change the up-down axis onto a different stick and then have that always forward and then
you probably
steer?
Could remap it to the right stick or something.
Yeah. So you have up-down on the right stick and left-right on the left stick.
I'm just trying to think of how many other buttons you need, and I guess it probably would work with just shoulders, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Got the boost button, and then the accelerate and brake, and that's pretty much it. And the repair button, I guess.
Oh yeah, wasn't there? Wasn't the boost a little strange? Like there was a technique for making it fire.
Well, you had to nose down first to be able to allow you to boost. Then you had to fire it, but then it overheats, so you had to not fire it, and you had to keep changing between boosting and not boosting continuously. It was a whole boost management thing,
which was kind of cool.
Yeah. Instead of
tied
having,
into
like,
the
a
movie
meter.
weirdly.
Yeah.
Instead of like having a boost meter, it was an interesting solution, the whole overheat thing, and then you could run it hot and take some damage, couldn't you, for a bit?
A short period of time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you'd overheat, and then you'd the engine fire, then you hit the repair button,
Oh,
just like in the film.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about the engine fires. That was cool.
It's working.
like-
It's working.
Does he actually shout that? If you're...
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's annoying.
At least one.
I mean, like when you're playing as Anakin in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
I
okay.
mean, he had sound effects from the movie, naturally.
No.
Rather than all the other characters, it was just like random noises, because that was pretty much all they had. So they have character-wise from all those other characters.
Houdini.
If you blow up Team Toad, does his was it Team Toad
Does it
that
go,
had it?
wee, 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 wee?
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think when any of the pods in that game crash, they don't. The cockpit doesn't act as a separate entity.
Oh,
One of the engines
whole
blows
thing
up,
just
and
goes-
then the other half spirals and then explodes. That's the default
yeah.
explosion animation for all of those. Even the ones where the pods aren't connected by cables still does the same thing. One of the engines blows up, and then the other one rotates.
Yeah, it was a cool game. Weren't the explosions sort of weirdly cylindrical?
Yeah, they were like weirdly vertical,
Quite
considering you were
two-style.
traveling forwards. They were like explosions that looked like they were coming up out of the ground in sort of
Yeah.
a cone shape.
Like a Smash Brothers move or something.
Yeah.
But I remember even on the N64 version, it had some. I mean, there was like polygonal reflection tech in there. Like, you know, they were rendering the scene twice
Yeah.
to put reflections on the ice and stuff, which at the time was pretty cool. You're sort of looking at it going, "Oh, damn, games are getting pretty." And it ran really well on the PC version we had, even at the time.
Yeah.
The N64 version was alright, fairness. Bit framey, as you'd expect from the 64, but totally playable. I think it supported the expansion pack, so you
Yeah,
could
I'm
choose
pretty sure it
between
did.
frames or higher res. Did it have some sort of upgrade system as well? I can't remember. Like, you could
Well, yeah,
upgrade
it
the
had
pods.
parts. That's
Oh,
the point of
parts.
Matto's shop.
Yes.
You go in there and go into the back lot where he has all the cheap shit that's badly damaged. Buy a fucking tier 8 engine that's on like a tiny minuscule amount of health and then just repair it. Because that's a cheaper option than actually buying the proper one.
Great game. And, well, great game that we played then. Perhaps there's a video in us having to revisit
Well,
it,
yes,
you
I'm
know,
sure
fairly,
there is.
fairly soon. We were like, oh, is this actually still good?
Probably you need to play quite a lot of it. Because you really do need to get through like all of the tracks to
Mm.
see what that game was really about. Because the first track is real simple.
Mm.
And like you don't and of course the track from the movie is the last track, naturally.
Oh, yeah, of course. Because the first one
The first
track,
one is like a short version
Yeah.
of the track from the movie. Like the child version, the junior track.
Yeah.
And then right at the end of the game they give you the real one.
because they start getting. I remember some of that. They start getting a bit mad with the course design. In the sense
But there's
that
the
just, like, random-
zero gravity asteroid field is the real fucked up one. Where you're
Mm.
like, I have no idea what way up I am, and then at the end you just pop back out into regular gravity. You're like, wow! You're like flipping upside down because you don't realize you've been driving completely upside down the whole time. And you're having to use nose up and nose down to actually change your altitude to avoid the asteroids as you're traveling through this ridiculous anti-gravity tunnel.
Yeah, it's cool. What else we got?
I read that Quake Champions is adding some bots, but I mean, just to remind me of the old classic times of firing up whatever ridiculous bot thing we added on to Quake
Oh
2.
man, yeah. What did we? I forget what that was. QC bots or something. Yeah,
Something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that we could just murderize them over and over again. But I guess
Basically,
there's the UT classic bot matches of Instagib.
Oh yeah, used to play a lot of that.
They're pretty good. So,
yeah, I forget. We used to like heavily tweak the Quick Q2 one. The
Yeah.
little tool it had was quite customizable. And
yeah, like the weird
put
trainer
mucking
thing.
around with it. Yeah.
Remember playing music as well.
I'm pretty sure all we ever did with those bots in Quake 2 is it's like I don't think we intended to do it really. It was just how it turned out. But pretty much what we were doing was basically setting up like high score runs.
Yeah.
Where like we over time we just developed like the optimized route to just collect every power up whilst murdering all the bots that were in the way because they were that bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like see how many kills you can get in the length of the match.
Yeah.
Like over 100.
We'd sort of turned it into a puzzle challenge kind of. It's like with these settings, it's like how can we best each other?
But I don't think we did that on purpose. It was like we just made the bots that bad, and we played those levels so often that we knew the fastest route to get to everything, and it just kind of optimized itself naturally over time.
Yeah. It's like, well, there were certain things where it's like, oh, we're playing Toki's Towers. Okay, like when's the opportune moment to go for the BFG?
Yeah, when does it spawn, and then how quickly can you get there?
But that's how the real game works, isn't it? When the things spawn is the most important thing, right? And being there when they do. Doing that rocket jump to get mega health on.
Oh, absolutely.
On
DM1.
DM1, yeah.
The Edge.
It's like the Edge, although it was
not
not that well designed in like modern terms, but it was still kind of cool.
It was fun. Yeah. Had some good routes. The
That weird
rail
like
route.
Yeah, and the weird like underground sewer bit.
Never bothered with the railgun really. Unless you were getting super late game on that level.
Mm.
Hyperblaster is all you need.
Yeah, Hyperblaster.
I was always about the rockets.
They were so slow though.
Yeah, but the bots were so dumb.
Yeah.
A couple of direct hits from those things.
I love those stupid polygonal explosions in Quake 2.
Yeah.
They got rid of those in Quake 3.
They were so weirdly animated. It's like there wouldn't have been such a terrible idea if they did. They sort of burbled around strangely, didn't they? They were like
weird mushroom
all
clouds
over the place. Yeah. They weren't like a smooth animation at all. They were like
yeah, it's true.
Really odd. Also, just that rocket launcher noise, though. Come on, man.
Yes. And the shape of the rocket launcher was cool. That weird, like, cross shape thing.
Yeah, and when the rocket's loading in, like, across the top of it.
Yeah, it was cool. It's probably my favorite rocket launcher.
It's pretty cool.
They kind of went back to a Quake 1 style, didn't they, with Quake 3? Or the Tube of Doom. And then, of course, they brought the Quake 1 into TF2.
Then it's weird. Like, I think Quake 3's weaponry actually, in some ways, is really reserved. Like compared to
True.
It was one of the sort of Quake 3 versus UT arguments, right? The sort of Quake 3's armaments were either hit scan, nearly hit scan in the Hyperblast or whatever that thing ended up, plasma gun. That was it.
Yeah.
Or rockets, basically. It's like very very little middle ground. They all kind of did the same thing. I suppose with the shotgun, it was a bit out there, but yeah. Yeah, not quite so varied, but I suppose it's that little bit more pro. Anyway, Quake Champions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who cares?
That game kind of didn't do anything, did it?
Guess not.
I think it went free to play properly, didn't it? Or so we could give it a go, see if it was any good. I'm guessing it wasn't any good if anyone actually played it. Or if no one played it. They tried to straddle that line somewhere between arena and hero shooter, right?
Yeah, I guess that
was the idea. But I guess no one cares about arena shooters anymore.
I mean, is Quake Champions out? I can't even...
Yeah, I think so. I think it happened very quietly, was the weird thing. Maybe it's still in beta, I don't know. But
I think it might be in beta. Early access, Steam early access, I guess.
Yeah, all right.
But I guess you can just play it, right? So in that sense, it's out.
Yeah. I think they were finally looking for something to replace, was it Quake Live?
Well, exactly.
That was a weird thing. Download this browser plugin,
And you can
which is
play Quake
basically
3.
all of Quake 3. Yeah.
I can't remember why, but there was some forum comment I was reading about something about Battlefield, and for some reason I just was like, "What if EA makes a new Battlefield Heroes?" And I was just like, "That would be weird."
That would be weird.
I mean, it's Heroes. It's like that they way ahead of time conveniently made the right brand for that genre before it was even a thing.
Before they even called it a hero shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame that oh man, Battlefield Heroes bummed me out because I remember at the time thinking, okay, this has a lot of promise. Like of it being Battlefield, but with TF2 inspiration chucked into the mix.
Yeah.
Could have been something, but then you actually played it and was like, this is garbage.
It was also like they came up with the name of a genre that didn't exist, and they also came up with like a play style that also was like too early. It was like ahead of the time when people thought that was a good idea. They were trying to do it, but then it wasn't a good idea at that time.
I don't know. Battlefield has had a history of like having support roles.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the pay to unlock weapons and like, the weapons only last a certain amount of time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much what games are trying to do nowadays. It's just they were doing it far too early before anyone thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, that's true. They did the free-to-play thing in what could be argued is still a bad free-to-play model, but they did it so early. This was about the time where the only other real free-to-play PC games about were like Korean RPGs.
Yeah, that's why it was so weird at the time. It was just like, what the fuck is EA doing? It's a Battlefield.
Yeah.
It didn't work at the time.
Imagine if it did work at the time. Would we have had Battlefront 2?
Well, Star Wars. I think Star Wars overrules any like concerns about anything.
Well, I suppose that's news. Isn't Battlefront 2's like? No, haven't they? Isn't the progression system of that game like that might be out by now? Actually, that like they redid it all and like got rid of the loot box progression system and made it sort of like a linear unlock based on a bit like the Battlefield games. Where it's like the more you use a thing, the more stuff for that thing you get, or the more you use a character class, the more stuff for that class you get, rather than it being randomized. And it's so they've ripped all that. They're ripping all that stuff out and putting it all in differently.
I mean, I guess now that everyone is starting to determine that loot boxes are gambling, they were like, we conveniently already took those out, but we just have to slightly rebalance because we can't. We were like waiting to bring them back, so the balance was still based on that system. But now we're not going to bring them back because now we can avoid this whole legal problem that's starting to evolve.
I mean, the I don't know if it's really a cynical approach, but the sort of logical reasoning for this, it's like they were like, okay, this has gone real bad. What do we do? Okay, let's. We've got Battlefield 5 coming out in about a year.
Probably.
Can we experiment with a pivot now and put that system into 5 if it works out? But then 5's got to have some monetization in there somewhere, right? So they can't fully backtrack in the way that they have done for yeah. But they were so utterly pointless in Battlefield 1.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter, does it? People buy dumb shit for no reason.
You could never see like someone's slightly different
that's
wooden
all
gut.
games. You can never see anyone's anything because they shoot you in the face and then you die, and then you get like 1 second to look at them for a death cam, and then you're not looking at them any longer.
Makes more sense to have like a full character skin, that the Overwatch style. That's fine. I can dig that. But gun skins,
you can't have. I mean, equally,
it doesn't make any sense in Battlefield.
Well, the full character skins in Battlefield are just like a different color of camo, and that's only like. Really that's only like maybe it gives you an advantage if you use the right one for the right level.
Yeah,
but then that's not a skin any longer. That's actual like tactical choices.
It's kind of cool in a way, but yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's not like you go in there wearing flares.
It's not like Pink Darth Vader.
Not Pink Darth Vader, no.
I saw someone who had some very wishful thinking in their forum post about what they wanted to see out of E3, where they were like, for EA, I want to see HD re-release of 1942 and 2143. And it's like, that is not going to happen at all. Neither of those things. It's going to be Battlefield 5, which is going to be in World War II, and no one cares about 2142, unfortunately.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see them revisit 2142, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
I mean, it could. I mean, we can.
It might be next year.
Yeah, I mean, we did say when
2 years from now,
when Call of Duty decided to go to space, it was like now's the time to go back to 2142.
Yeah, but then the space thing didn't really pay
No.
out for them. And they've got Titanfall under EA's banner, so maybe they're not wanting to screw Titanfall over too much a second time.
Make a Titanfall game that is basically Battlefield with Titanfall in it.
Man, that would be awesome. Actually, like add a few.
It would
Add
be
a few.
difficult
Add a
to
few.
manage with the mechs. Like, how do you limit? If you've got 16 people aside, what limits are there on how many mechs there can be on the field at the same time?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would be cool though. Like, you'd probably have to add some other vehicles into the mix instead. Like,
some kind of tanks.
Yeah.
And you probably have to be slightly more clever with your level design to make maybe even like half the map that the mechs can't get into. So there's always a on-foot fight and always a mech fight.
Yeah, well, I think they try in certain sections of those maps, where they will
but they're always so
segregate off a
small,
base.
Where it's just like basically one room.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're unfortunate, the Titans can just shoot through the doorway anyway.
Uh-huh. Or we'll fire one of those like grenade type things in the gap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a terrible idea. I bet me kind of likes the sound of that. But maybe some of them, like, how the actual Call of Duty-esque shooting works might be a little...
Yeah.
But then Battlefield's fairly high lethality these days, isn't it? So
yes.
Yeah.
But again, do we actually want that from Battlefield?
Yeah, good question.
The more that we've been going into this, whatever modern version of Battlefield is now since, like, the first Battlefront, I guess.
Yeah, since that
Like, do you want that? Not really. I don't know. I prefer the old ones. Really, I guess.
3 is the one, yeah. Aside from its janky server browser stuff, but
Although it has to be said that, like, obviously one of the reasons that I like 3 is because it lets me do things that aren't necessarily shooting, I guess.
Right.
I like doing dumb things that aren't necessarily fun to other people, I suppose. Like, just UAVing the whole match.
Oh, yeah,
and getting
yeah.
a million points from it because it's actually, like, really useful.
It is really useful. Yeah, I've had quite some quite fun games just messing around with the support options. It was if they can, when they pull that off, those Battlefield games really sing. And it's like, I'm not sure Commander mode was ever really that. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's
Commander
like
mode had too much, like, it tried to matter, but it didn't. But then there was, it was like, the commanding other squads was completely useless because no one ever cared.
Yeah, no one followed your orders.
But then you kind of had to have a commander to do like the orbital strikes because that was just so powerful.
Yeah,
and the airdrops and whatnot. You had to have a commander just to do those. But then the other half of what the commander should have been doing was completely useless.
Yeah, and do the radar sweeps every now and then to give people rough ideas of where the fight is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perhaps there could be more to that if there were more little things the commander could be doing to assist.
Well, I mean, again, if you're talking about mashing in Titanfall, you could have the commander mode practically
control the AI.
Just control the grunts.
Yes. See, this is coming together.
It's not gonna
like incoming.
Yeah. Sort of. Yeah.
Sort of.
Less pink.
Yeah. Less UFOs. Unless it's 2143, and then there could be UFOs, I guess.
Incoming alien craft.
Destroy all alien craft.
Yep. Craft.
Crap.
I can't remember what the sample was that we accidentally... Oh yeah, that was it. Kill them all! Crap. Because we cut it badly. Oh boy. I guess the follow-on from the loot box discussion there happened. Belgium decided that loot boxes are bad, yo.
After they were slightly indecisive that we mentioned before.
Yeah,
back in the Netherlands, and we were trying to remember what Belgium actually said.
They basically said it's like, we think it's bad, but they hadn't really officially ruled either way. And not only have they now ruled, they've ruled down the hardest of the lot so far.
Ruled?
Being that, the actual practice of loot boxes, I know last time we talked about that detail, which was, it's only really considered gambling if the items you are purchasing have real world value due to the fact that they can be traded between other players. And it's like, Belgium don't care about that. It's like these items, it's all gambling to them. Belgium don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Belgium care a lot.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. It was the phrasing that they used was like it's harmful to players and society, which I thought was fun.
Well, I mean, I guess if you're going to start talking about harmful to society, then kill off Bitcoin.
Yes, absolutely, kill off Bitcoin. My portfolio is not doing too well, so yeah.
Being as it is, non-existent.
Yeah. Good, it's close as, yeah. So yeah, that's maybe that. Like I guess.
Well, I guess that's that from
until next week. Yeah.
Well, it remains to be seen what is actually going to happen on like the actual legal.
Who's going to react is the thing. Yeah, what game?
Who's going to do what?
Yeah, it's like there's that, especially in the Netherlands, where they've said that like because it's gambling, you're going to need a gambling license to sell that game. Like, how does it affect games like Rocket League and Battlefront? It's like, that big question we raised last time is still very much active and possibly getting even more important. Is game design going to have to just push away from that as a thing the more countries put up a fight, or are we still going to get games that like just do that but just won't sell in those countries? Or will the big publishers actually put up and just go, yeah, we'll have a gambling license then, fine, shut your traps, we're still gonna make millions. You just probably can't put card packs in Plants vs Zombies anymore. That's probably what it is. Even though I thought that system was fine there. But it did get me thinking about, like, the wider world of games. Like, not just video games, but, like, Pogs and Magic the Gathering and Go-Go's. Things where you buy football stickers, right? Things where you buy blind boxes, effectively. You're buying booster packs that...
Well, in Magic, you get like the boosters have X many commons, don't they? And then
there is at least a sort of a defined range in which the value could lie. Right? There's a certain number of commons. There's a certain number of rares or uncommons,
yeah.
And there's a chance of getting one uber rare. Yeah.
But each of those individual ones can still have widely varying values, even at the same tier.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, some rares are just way better than others, right?
I think the idea is that it's not possible to get less than what you put in, I think, is the intention. But, you can't guarantee that with the markets on those things. I mean, maybe it's less of a thing in, like, Go-Go's and Pogs, because you're like, there isn't really an intrinsic value to those, because there wasn't really a difference in rarity. They were all just try and collect the set. And maybe that's true.
I guess
of
there was
stickers,
eventually. Pogs did have a rarity because they had like shinies and stuff, right?
Oh yeah, they did start adding shinies later. Yeah,
I don't really get shinies in general. That seems like the most dodgy thing about the whole thing is something that doesn't affect the game at all, but just randomly makes your stuff more valuable, supposedly.
Yeah,
that seems like a weird one.
Shiny Pogs are cool.
They're cool though.
Shiny Slammers were the fucking best.
Yeah. But most of the slammers were like shiny.
Well, they were metallic, but not like shiny.
They had they were like plastic black, weren't they, with like a coloured shiny layer? Yeah.
The actual shiny ones were ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Then you got those bastards that played with actual metal slammers.
Well, I mean that was
totally illegal, probably.
Well, the thing was
in regulation Pog.
Well, the thing was when they started doing more sets of Pogs, the slammers were actually not always the same exact thickness between the sets.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
If you could get the slightly heavier ones, that was tactically an advantage in Pogs.
So, because I think the designs were slightly raised up, weren't they? So they had a 3D-ness to them. So if you got one that was just a real fat design,
yeah.
Well, I'm sure I had one that was like a Aztec sort of.
I'm not sure that was a Pog though. I think that was like an off-brand Pog.
Oh, you reckon? Okay. Maybe I was out of regulation Pog.
Yeah, I think you might have been.
Might have been a Tazo. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
I forget what the other Pog brands were. There was definitely Pog and Tazo were definitely the two big ones, but I'm sure that here at least. But I'm sure there were more. like the I can't even remember like if that Pog Maker machine my
I
brother
had that
had
thing.
was. Yeah, I can't remember if even that was official Pog.
I think it was.
It was the right
It was
size.
official. Yeah.
Okay.
But it made quite crappy pogs. But I had a whole collection
yeah.
that we made that was like Cool Spot for some reason. Based.
I remember.
Memes of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not memes.
I remember printing off my Amiga.
Images to put on Pogs. Yes,
Yeah.
I remember you doing that as well.
Because I remember making like a psychedelic background with an 8-ball on it.
Because that's what you put in Pogs.
Yeah.
That's like an actual Pog.
Yeah, pretty much.
It probably actually was an actual Pog.
Yeah.
You were just trying to rip the
It's
design
just
off.
I quite like that Pog. I haven't got it. I'll have it. I'll make it. Because why not? You could make some high quality Pogs now if you had a Pog maker. Get some like proper printing done.
3D printed Pogs.
Yeah.
That's how you make slammers.
3D printed Pogs. Oh, that's amazing.
Be ridiculous.
Man, Pog, what a dumb thing. Because it was like £1 for a pack of 6 bits of cardboard.
Yep.
Go-Go seemed like a better deal. Like now, like £1 for 6 slightly larger chunks of plastic. But anyway, back to the original question. Yeah, does any of that fall into this, do you think? Or is it sort of just you're getting what you pay for in that condition compared to this stuff?
I guess maybe. Well, on from the Netherlands perspective, maybe it only matters if the trade system is built in with the game. Like it's not through an outside agency. Because if you're trading like Magic cards, that's literally that's like you're trading any physical thing.
Yeah, I guess because it's physical, you just could.
And
right?
you're assigning a value based on whatever you could, like if you're selling off a used video game, it's like you're just giving it a value, or the person who's buying it is giving it a value. It's like that doesn't necessarily fall under the same sort of trading systems as a thing that's built into the game that allows you to trade stuff.
No, I think it's like once you have the items, that's fine, right? Of course it's fine.
Yeah,
because that's just trade. That's the world. It's that. Yeah, it's just that element. If you don't know what. Yeah, you just don't know what you're going to get.
I guess.
And then that purchase of you don't know what you're going to get is where the problem lies. That's all it is. Yeah, because I guess this falls under TF2 crates, like CS:GO skins, Rocket League crates, all of that stuff, all under the same banner. Like, but at least TF2 had like an out. Like most of the items could actually just be bought. Anyway, we've had this conversation a million times before.
Yeah.
Let's see where it goes. It's still fascinating to me, like where this pans out and like how it affects the design of games moving forward.
I mean, that would be something to watch out for at E3.
Yeah.
See if you can see any hints of what microtransactions are going on. Because I mean,
or more like how many people do you want just to say like we've got no loot boxes?
Yeah, exactly. Because last year we had the momentary, in retrospect, hilariousness of EA being like, the DLC is going to be free, and then it's just like, but we've got this other thing that we're not going to mention yet because it's going to fuck up everything.
Yeah.
Because then they made loot boxes instead. It was way worse. But the fact that they were going, oh, our DLC is going to be free, like all these other companies are doing, and it seemed like such a good idea at the time. But little did we know they were cocking off on a completely different front. So this year it'll be like, we've got no loot boxes, and then once those games come out, and we'll discover how the other new system they've come up with to fuck everything up.
Oh, it will just be, you want your pink Darth Vader? That's 30 quid.
Macro transactions, the classic. That was the Eve thing.
Oh, what is it? Oh, the Easy Allies joke where they called them after Dom Matrick. They called them Matrix for a while.
Matric transactions.
Yeah. Was that his name, Dom Matrick?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, the old
Sounds right.
free. We've got a product for that guy. It's called Xbox 360.
Yes.
I think that's news.
That's the end of news. It's time for What Have You Been Playing? So what have you been playing?
Sinister. Go on, host, make a decision.
Tell me. Tell me what you have been playing.
Who's going to tell him?
I don't know. I guess since Rob, you always talk through news, but this time Zach was talking, so
A little bit.
Yeah, he got involved.
Got involved. So now it's time for you to tell us what you've been playing.
Which one of us?
Rob.
Very helpful sentence.
Who's on first?
Rob, because Zach actually talked.
All right. Where do we start this time? Let's go.
Has there been things?
There has been things.
Very good.
Let's go with I'm going to start with my curveball. The one I don't think either of you will
Is
particularly
this going to be
guess.
one of those games where it's just like, why have you been playing this?
Pretty much,
Okay.
yes. I'll give you a clue. It was on Game Pass,
Oh, good.
so I'm still working through my Game Pass. This
This is a classic Rob Simpson where it's just like, I need to play these things even though I really don't want to for no reason.
It's not that I didn't want to. There is a curiosity factor to this. It's something I didn't really put time in. It's an Xbox 360 game that I can play on my PC. It's in the Halo unit. It's Halo Wars. I've played through all of Halo Wars.
Why?
Uh,
Okay. Sorry. Okay, cool.
Just because I was curious. I was kind of wanted to see what they did with it, how it actually played out, what the story was like, that kind of stuff. And I haven't played an RTS in God knows how long.
Yeah, and you wanted to command all units.
I did want to press the all units button over and over and over again. And the game kind of makes you do that.
Well, yes.
Because it's like
It's barely an RTS.
yeah, so you're not wrong. It's got all in theory. It's got everything that an RTS should have. It's got like somewhat rock paper scissors style unit matching system. It's got upgrades. It's got base building within sort of base building. You sort of have a hub that's
More
your
like
base,
add-ons.
and you put add-ons onto it. But it doesn't matter where they are effectively because they just all come. Everything comes out the front.
Yeah.
And that's all nicely. I kind of like that because it's all nicely simplified down, and the strategy is in the order in which you build things, not necessarily having to care about where things are built. And so a bit of me kind of got that. I was getting that sort of like I liked world in conflict because it simplified a lot of what I found tedious about RTSs, just right down to like, all right, I want these units and I want them to fight this thing, and that's what this does, which is, it's nice. You've got a unit cap, you've got resources, but it's still doing some of that stuff, but a little bit grounded because there's a base. And it's like, all right, okay, I see what you're trying to do. I can get into this. Except for the fact, like, I run into the problem I always do with every RTS, and that I'm just not good at RTSs. Like, the puzzle doesn't feel apparent to me. In like, okay, here's how I have to solve this. And I think this doesn't do a particularly great job at explaining how its systems do its stuff. Like, this is what you should use in this scenario. So I basically end up just falling back on the, oh God, I need money right now. Get me as much money as I can because I want to build all the things. And so I end up doing what I often do in RTSs, which is just, focus on that, turtle up, get loads of cash, then build a big army, and then just see if I can walk it in one push.
Right, because you don't really need to worry about the tactical strategy because you've won the economy at that point.
Yeah, kind of. And it's like, that's fine. That's a way to play it. But it's kind of what I always do.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily find that all that interesting
That's
anymore.
how story RTSs always work. It's like only in multiplayer is where actual tactics become a thing. Because in story, it's just you're playing against AI, and pretty much all you have to do is just build more stuff that they have.
Yeah. Which again was like that. Again, World in Conflict, I thought did brilliantly. Everyone always has the same resource pool.
Yeah,
and it's about how you use it in the given moments that made all the difference.
Which therefore makes it hard if you're bad at RTS like me.
Yeah,
and then in the story of World in Conflict, it was much more precisely designed.
Yeah,
it was like you only had certain numbers of units, and occasionally it did give you the reinforcement point system to deploy your own stuff, but it was more like the enemies were very specifically set up, and you had a specific set of units, and you need to use these units in a certain way to do a certain thing.
Which kind of taught you, some of what you would need later on. It's like, it wasn't the same thing. It was definitely not the same thing as how the multiplayer worked, but at least you got a feel for kind of like, okay, these units are good in this scenario. These units are good. These units have this ability. that they can do this thing. And I think Halo Wars is actually really kind of bad at telling you that stuff. You just sort of, as the levels go on, you'll occasionally notice, oh, there's a new icon here. I can now do this thing. Well, what does this do? Oh, what the hell is a Cyclops? Oh, it's a healer unit that looks like a mech? Okay, why not? There's some oddities there, and I think they could have done a way better job. And I think that's also like true of the story elements as well. Because again, I did the World in Conflict comparison in my head, was just like, okay, that was an RTS that I thought told its story really well, and it played into how the missions worked and how you went from area to area and what you were doing. It all felt cohesive. Whereas here, it's just sort of like they don't necessarily have that many good ideas about what the mission structure should be to mix things up. It's like you could go wild in the campaign, really, but a lot of the ending missions just basically boil down to, hey, build a base, go blow up the next base, then build another base there so you can build more stuff, and then blow up the next ones, and just keep going. And that's what the last 3 or 4 missions are, basically. It's just like just keep going, just build stuff and go.
But it's because they needed to come up with slightly more complex stuff for the because when you're playing regular Halo games and you're in this war zone, it does just seem like just units smashing into each other continuously.
Yeah.
It's just like there doesn't seem to be virtually any tactics to the Halo fights.
Sort of
in Halo.
Well, in fairness, if you want to see like 2 armies just mash into each other, it does a pretty good job of that. It looked for a 360 game. It's got to be said. This is it's aged a bit now, but if you just had like the size of the armies you could throw against each other, and because the camera is by default quite zoomed in, it's like it looks pretty decent. Everything sort of thing, even plasma grenades and stuff like that will do the thing where they stick to things, give a little bit of a blue glow around them, and then explode with a delay and things like that. It's pretty well done. That whole if you want that, does a what a Halo big battle might look like.
But that is all they had to work on.
Yeah.
By default.
Yeah.
And they had to come up with the idea of tactics in the Halo universe doesn't naturally occur to you when you're just playing the FPSs.
No, so no, definitely not. So they have had to think of that's why there are new units. That's why there are new variants. That's why the bases exist as a thing. It's a. And for the most part, I think their creativity is positive. It's like the Warthogs most vehicles have like a special ability. So the Warthogs are like you can, instead of just straight up attacking things, you can tell the Warthogs to ram the thing, which is clearly effective against. It's like force move from CNC, I suppose, which is clearly effective against infantry. Your infantry will carry grenades that you can use their special ability to chuck their grenades at things, so they can get a bit of a lob on and, excuse the phrase, and actually get it over barriers and things like that. You've got new units, the Cobras, that can lock themselves down and become siege tanks in a way, have better firing shots. So all that stuff exists, but it's kind of, because it was designed for console, some of that stuff isn't quite as easy to access as perhaps it should be.
Right.
So it's like if you've got like a large group of people selected, like if you've all units and you've got the massive thing, you can press R to do special ability. I'm playing it on PC, should be noted. So if you're pressing R to use your special on a thing, you're not really sure which unit is going to do its special on that thing because you've got the whole group selected. And it's like, you could mouse wheel through what you've got selected to select a specific group, and if you know what their ability is, you could press R to do that. Except, as I said, the game's not very good at telling you what the abilities are that your units have, or teaching you what those abilities are. So there are moments where it's just like, I hope I've got the right one, and I just wasn't very good at that. So you just end up doing like the classic CNC thing of like, I've got units, I'm telling them to go to this thing. Which then leads me to the next problem, and I think the pathfinding is kind of rubbish.
Oh no!
And how the units actually get around. It's like they don't they get in each other's way, which is frequently very annoying. It's like, okay, this guy's about to die. I'm gonna try and be smart and pull this one unit to the back of the formation, but all the tanks are in the way, and they won't get out of the way, and there's no like pass through physics or anything like that. But they're not smart enough to get out of the way. So that's, which is mildly forgivable. But when you've got like some Covenant on the other side of a barrier, which you could easily go around, and you've got infantry in front of the barrier, and you say, okay, attack those guys, and they just stand there. because they walk up to the barrier and are like, we can't see him, we can't do it, and you're like, just go around, mate. It's like, and you have to manually put a move order in on one side of the barrier, and then they go around it. They go to that side, and then it's like, now we'll try and attack. And they're like, oh yeah,
Oh, I got it now.
yeah. There are moments like that where it's just, oh come on, seriously. Or like where I'd want a little bit more control of how a unit got to a place. You know, like I really would like a waypoint system, be able to say, okay, I need you to go around this route to get to this thing, please, rather than being able to just click, go there. I need to define, right, I want you to go around this thing so you don't get killed to hell on your way there, please. And of course, like, there's no way of doing that. You have to micromanage that process, whilst you've probably got other things to deal with going on at the same time. And on the console, I'm not 100% sure how you would do that efficiently. On the PC, at least, you can do the trick of clicking the minimap and skipping about, but obviously that wasn't a thing on the console. You'd have to like scroll around, and I assume there were button shortcuts to go back to base, or maybe, and things like that. But so there were just things like that where it just feels a little bit unpolished, like they hadn't learnt the lessons from World in Conflict or games that had come like 10 years prior. And all in all, it's sort of okay. Is what I mean to say with
Right.
all of this.
Yeah.
It's kind of fine, but it's basically reminding me, like, yeah, okay, I'm not good at RTS. I don't, even though it was a bit of a breeze playing it in normal mode, not heroic or legendary, just played it in normal. And it's like, yeah, even though it was a bit of a breeze to go through, it's just like, oh okay, I sort of realised I don't really care about the tactics all that much. I'm just not that way wired, or at least the game hasn't made me care about the tactics. Yeah, and it just, you know, there probably could have been just a little bit more effort put into various places, and you might have been onto something here. Which is why I'm now somewhat interested in what Halo Wars 2 does,
Right.
because that's also on Game Pass.
Well, that's Creative Assembly, isn't it? So a totally different dev, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not Ensemble Studios this time. Who I think were the Age of Empires guys, is that right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to see how that pans out, see if it plays out differently. It's probably more complex if it's Creative Assembly. And obviously this one was designed with PC in mind, whereas the first one was basically just a port of the 360 version. Although it's got to be console friendly as well. So, you know, it could be more interesting. Also, they bloody well just needed to add a camera zoom. It's like there's an option in the menu that seems to set that's called default zoom level, and as far as I can tell, it does nothing. And there's no like camera control to zoom in and out. You can rotate the world around you, but there are just some levels where the zoom is so close, and it's like, yeah, that's probably a decision they took for the console version.
Yeah.
But the fact that I have no control of that on PC is quite irritating.
Yeah, that's annoying. I like to play it usually a little bit more zoomed out than.
Yeah. I would have liked it quite
most.
a lot more zoomed out.
Like Company of Heroes type thing. Usually zoom out a little. That game was pretty good. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Company of Heroes was good fun. Yeah, so all in all, not bad. Not a total waste of time.
That's Rob's quote for the box.
If you're looking for something to do with your Game Pass, it's not a total waste of time.
Not a total waste of time. Raves Robert Kemp of the Saladcast.
I don't know. I'm tempted to play some of the skirmishes because I haven't really played it as the Covenant at all, and you can because of the multiplayer stuff. So I might do a bit of that. And also the game was relatively stingy with achievements. Like I've only got 175 having played through the campaign, so it's like maybe I'll do a couple of the harder levels, see how that pans out. Maybe the strategy will become necessary as you up the difficulty. Or is it like old RTSs of old where there's like this particular level, there's only one way you're going to succeed. But it's just an arbitrary way rather than a puzzle. If it's that, then I'm out, not interested. I think I want my strategy games to have a little bit more than that. Like, but then at the same time, I don't care. It's weird. It's weird. I want more, but I don't care.
Fair enough.
So there was that. That was my curveball.
What about your the ball that goes straight, that doesn't curve?
Put some more time in with my multiplayer games. I suppose I played a bit more Splatoon 2 because Splatfest was on. I guess the weird thing there was that this was a sponsored Splatfest. They're doing like which is the best Ninja Turtle thing.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
That's quite weird.
I don't feel good about it.
Why is there like a Ninja Turtle movie coming out or something?
It's
the new cartoon series. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that a
so yeah,
CGI cartoon series? Or?
I can't remember if it's CGI actually, or is it like?
It looks like it might be like one of those semi-computer generated, like
Somewhere
it's
in the
like
middle.
animation, but it's clearly not hand animated.
Oh, I see what you mean, like sort of flash animated a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah. Not Adventure Time. Yeah, so it's, so they're sort of doing that, and it's worse than that because it's going to be like the next like 2 Splatfests are going to be this as well as a sort of tournament. It's like because obviously there's 4 turtles, so they have to do 2 1-on-1, a 1-on-1, and then the winners of those go forth to a final 1-on-1 to decide who the best turtle is.
Yeah.
So it's like what I don't know is are they going to run these Splatfests close together? And it's like okay, cool, we'll get more sea snails. I'm up for that. But if it's like the next 2 months of Splatfests, it's just going to be those, then it's like that's way less interesting.
But who cares what the votes are for?
I know, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm playing for the snails, but there's a certain amount of like, come on, Team Mayo.
I guess at least the turtles have interesting colours.
Sure,
It's not like yellow versus white when it was the eggs.
Oh,
It's
man,
like that's
yeah.
kind of skank.
that was skank. Also, Shifty Station wasn't so interesting this time.
Well, it's sometimes it isn't, sometimes it is.
Yeah, there was just like it had like a load of blocks in the middle that could like raise or lower at random points in the match, and it was fine. Not terrible. I do kind of like their like Shifty Sand experiments. It'll be interesting if more of those came back as like either regular levels or
It would be interesting if they made actual levels rather than remaking levels. So yes.
Well, they did. There was one that I hadn't played, which has probably been in there for a while now. But Gobi Arena, just had never seen it in rotation, and that's an interesting level because it's like a basketball stadium that's been turned into a what they call it, a turf war level, and so it's actually weird because it's got like more the central arena is quite a big open space. A little bit like was it the college level has that sort of large courtyard.
Yeah,
it's sort of reminiscent of that, but perhaps with the verticality sort of inverted in some ways. So it's interesting. It plays quite differently. Like it encouraged me not to use my usual strategy and actually go for some longer range weapons because it was coming up a lot. Yeah, so it was interesting. I had to mix up my style. Anyway, Splatoon's still amazing. Can't wait for that Octo expansion. Well, they added more music as well, but of course I couldn't hear it because Splatfest was on.
yeah. Exactly.
Caught up with Overwatch a little bit. Tried out some of the new the new hero Bridget. Played a little bit as her. Yeah, she's actually pretty good. It's like it's weird because I thought she would kind of just be a not as effective Reinhardt or a not as effective Torbjorn, or sort of because she is kind of just that. She's sort of in the middle between a lot of characters. And yeah, it turns out she's actually pretty damn effective. pretty useful with a tiny little shield so she can protect herself, but that's also acts as like a shield bash to push. She's got more push abilities, I think, than a lot of characters do. So you can sort of use her stuff to sort of create distance, which is often somewhat unusual. A lot of the characters like to pull stuff towards or things like that. There seems to be more and more of these moves actually from a lot of the characters they're adding that it seemed to be positional, like things causing other players to be moved by things. Because maybe that's an easier thing to think of than actual weapons. I don't know. But yeah, that game remains okay. The event they did that I probably should have talked about last time because it was running out. Last time was another sort of single player co-op-y thing. Like, here's a scenario: get to the end, like work your way through the level, killing everything in the way. If you make it, hooray! Not all that interesting, but it obviously required work. And then that became a new level, as it turns out. That the setting they did for that has become a new map. So yeah, they're still adding stuff to that game. It's good, good. Keep adding stuff. It's still good.
I'm sure they will, right?
I don't think they've really made any mistakes thus far, really. Which is the thing. It's like all their levels have seen. I mean, the competitive scene and people who are really, really into their Overwatch will obviously have the classic fights about what characters need buffs and nerfs. And I heard Hanzo got a bit of a buff recently and things like that. And but I don't think they've ever really put a foot wrong with that game. It's like, Mercy's not as fun to play now as she used to be, but whatevs. That game's still a riot.
It's a riot.
It's a riot.
Get into it. Get into it, Zach.
Yeah, damn well should.
Any more single player?
I don't know. I might. What was I playing before Halo? What did I must have been playing something to have finished, then start playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about Rhyme.
So that's it.
Rhyme. Yeah, maybe that is it. Maybe I just had a week of basically doing nothing. Because I basically played Halo Wars the entire last week.
Yeah.
I must have been doing something. Or maybe I was just playing multiplayer games. I don't know. We weren't playing a lot of Rocket League, I guess.
Not that much.
Oh, yeah, I will yield for now.
Yield. Right, so someone has to take up the yielded floor. It's time for you, Zeg.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want to.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking, what have I been playing?
Starbound.
Well, yeah. That was the main thing that was changed. Basically, we moved on from modern Factorio to modern Starbound.
Okay.
Which is not as complicated, but still pretty complicated with the amount of shit it adds to Starbound. Although the trouble with it is it maybe makes it not run very well. I don't think that game ever did run that well, considering what it was. But sometimes I feel like, maybe this is just because I haven't played Starbound for a long time, so I don't remember whether it was this bad or what things were bad before. But it certainly seems like there's certain things where it's like, this is not running great. Like my ship in this most recent thing, we're using a mod that lets you build your own ship, which basically, instead of having the ship that upgrades in stages like it used to be, it now just turns the ship into like just a regular map, so you can just place blocks.
Oh, okay.
Just build it yourself.
And
that seems to run quite badly. Like my ship is kind of framey now for some reason that I can't really figure out. It's not even like there's that many blocks or anything, or I've done anything particularly fancy. It just doesn't seem to run that good for no particular reason. And there's a couple of other things where, like, I had this container on my ship that every time I opened it, it lagged up. Well, not when I opened it. When I put things in or took things out of it, it lagged up real bad. Like, it just hinged. And I was like, what is doing that? And I eventually narrowed it down to be like, for some reason, if you put mech parts in a container, that makes it lag whenever you interact with anything in that container.
Weird.
And I was like, okay, I'll put those in a separate box then, so I don't have to worry about...
This is my lag box.
Yeah, this is the lag box. And then another one where it's just like, for some reason, if I whenever the first time I craft any of the not really advanced resources exactly, because it's still some of the base game resources, but resources beyond a certain point in the tech tree, I guess. Whenever I craft the first time I craft any of them in a furnace, it hitches as well for no reason. But only on the first one. Like, if I go in there and I'm like, okay, I need to do a stack of 30 titanium, you click craft, the crafting bar fills up to the first one, then it hitches, and then it's fine after that. It's just like, why? Why does that do that every time?
Weird.
And only for, like, the slightly higher tiered resources. Like, if you're doing iron or copper, it's totally fine. It's only once you hit, like, titanium grade, then it gets weird. I suspect it's probably because, like, the way Starbound works with, like, recipes is when you pick up an item for the first time that's used in a subsequent recipe, you unlock the recipes. And I think maybe what it's doing is, like, it's checking for recipes that I haven't unlocked yet every time I craft one of those items. Like the titanium is going into my inventory, and then it's doing this in the background. It's doing some kind of recipe check to see what I can theoretically, what recipes I haven't unlocked yet, or whatever.
Yeah, okay.
That might rely on other resources that I haven't picked up, so they can't be unlocked if I haven't seen those other resources.
Yeah,
or whatever.
so sort of checking what to show you effectively.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be it, but that's just my idea. That's like the only thing I can think of that would be causing that weirdly specific lag.
It's very strange.
But yeah, apart from that, it's been a long time since I played Starbound, so I don't really remember what the progression was like before. But in this modded version, it's quite awkward in its. I think they changed the progression of Starbound to be similar to this, but like the mod just makes it harder, where it's just like you don't get as powerful as quickly, I don't think, because the power of your weapons is based on your armor, because the armor actually buffs. So you don't have to replace your weapons as often, because a lot of the damage of the weapons is based on what armor you're using.
Right,
so it gives it like a percentage boost.
So you can try and use the weapons that play the style you want more than...
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about getting left behind in terms of weapon damage as quickly.
Okay.
You can just use the armors to compensate. But the trouble that I've been having with this mod is the armor progression doesn't seem to be going up fast enough compared to like the difficulty of the stuff that we're seeing. But the other thing about this mod is this mod pack is it makes a lot of stuff based more on you have to specifically equip yourself to the environment more.
Very interesting.
So
you have to spec for the job at hand.
Yeah, and I feel like that's maybe kind of another thing it adds is character-specific traits. Like the race of the character you're playing has bonuses attached to it. So my race has a bonus to pistols. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to use dual pistols as my main weapon. And then I'm like, okay, so I can make this armor that also gives a bonus to pistols. So obviously you stack those up. But then I'm like, am I crippling myself too much? Because theoretically, all the different armor sets at the level we're at should have about the same amount of armor. So like the amount of damage I'm taking shouldn't change if I change to like an armor set that does rifles instead of pistols. But does that matter? Or is my main problem that the pistols that I'm using are just generic and not like elemental? Like, should I be trying to get elemental pistols that I can then use to counteract whatever type of... If I'm on a fire planet, should I be using ice weapons because then the enemies there are likely to be weaker to ice or whatever?
Yeah. And is that just going to be generally more effective?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to tell.
But then what if you got a regular ass enemy and you're spec'd for ice and it's like, oh no, am I screwed?
I mean, I guess you just could carry a bunch of different weapons.
Sure.
Just switch them out as you come across different things. And then there's other things about Starbound which just like when you play it again, you remember how bad certain aspects are, like inventory management. Even with the mods that add, like there's a button where you can just click a button and it stacks anything that already exists in a container into it. It's like, that's good. But the trouble is there's no way to like just dump your inventory. So when I'm doing my because it's quite important to cook food because you have a hunger bar, but also the food gives you buffs. So when I'm trying to cook food, it's like I go to my refrigerator. Here's all my food, like base food parts that I need to cook. So I hit the button that's take all, puts all that in my inventory. Then I go to the cooking station. Then I do whatever cooking I'm doing.
You create your masterpiece.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, I need to put all these ingredients back in the fridge. But there's no button to do that. You have to individually shift click each one of the things that you use the take all button to get them all out.
Yeah.
There's no way to put them all back in. There's a button that if they already existed, it would stack them, but that's not what you do.
Because you've taken everything.
Because you've taken all of them out.
Yeah. But I wonder if, because you've modded Starbound before, right?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this is that would be a nice simple button to add.
You'd think that surely it would already have existed with this other mod that does these other inventory buttons that already exist. It's like, it must have been something that couldn't have been done, because otherwise surely they would have already done it with this other mod that has the inverse of that button, essentially.
If you make it, we might get another email.
Yeah, and there's other... The other problem that I realised, is super annoying about Starbound is the difficulty levels between, regular and casual, where in casual it removes, the whole hunger mechanic. So, that makes it too easy, I would say.
Mm.
But then in regular, the hunger mechanic is there, but it also makes it so that when you die, all your shit falls on the ground. And that's just incredibly annoying. You're like, oh, I died somewhere on the surface of this planet. I better fucking run all the way back there to pick up all my stuff. And there's no like turn that bit off option. You either have no hunger and keep all your stuff, or hunger and all your shit goes on the floor. And it's just like, I'd really rather not, because it's just it's not like a difficulty thing. It's just an annoyance.
Right. So it's not like the way that game works. Like getting back to your corpse would be particularly tricky, or
not if you're. It's like if you've gone to a planet that's too hard and you've died like immediately, then that's easy to get your stuff back because you're usually close to where the spawn point is on that planet. But if you've just like accidentally fallen off a cliff that was too high while you'd already taken some damage and then you died on like a relatively easy planet, then it's just like, oh god damn it, now I just have to walk all the way there again.
Get all the way there and not be injured this time.
Yeah. And annoyingly, some stuff doesn't come out of your inventory, like your weapons, mainly, which is nice.
It's convenient.
But one of the things that does come out of your inventory when you die is like all your medical supplies, like bandages and whatnot. So not only are you now spawning from the spawn point of the planet, you also don't have any of your health kits. So now you either have to be very careful to get there without taking too much damage again, or you have to go and make some more health kits before you redeploy to go and get your stuff. And it's just like, this is just a big pain in the butt. There's no reason for this.
Yeah, unless you organise to not always leave a stash of medkits behind or something, or never take all your medkits.
No,
just take one.
Exactly. And then of course you run into the classic Minecraft problem of like the one thing you don't want to ever do is fall into lava, because then your shit falls out and burns, and then you're fucked. Then everything's gone. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Don't fall into the core of the planet. Actually, I'm not sure everything does burn in Starbound. I think like a lot of stuff doesn't just get destroyed when it falls into lava. If you're in the core of the planet, there's no bottom of the screen, so you can't actually go get it, even if it theoretically could have survived.
You just go.
So yeah, we played that quite a lot.
I thought something we played.
Did you?
Yeah. With Kippers last weekend. Well, Gnome was out, and I was being made to paint rooms on that. Yeah. There's a thing about being married, right? Where it's just like, or being with someone in a relationship for some period of time. That it's like, I'm sure everyone who's in one of these will appreciate this. It's like there are moments where having time alone is a good thing.
Yes.
Right? You don't necessarily, but of course, Gnome was like, yeah, I'm going away for a weekend with the girls. Well, if you don't mind painting the bedroom a bit to tidy it up a bit while you're away, I'm like, God damn it! That's a fairly big job you're going to be to do like while you're out, and it's like, so my weekend went a little bit awry, and I made things worse while painting. But so it was like after the first time doing, somehow made it patchier. I don't know how that's possible. The texture is like I managed to patch up the bits that were discoloured, so they looked nicely more uniform, but then when the light catches it, the texture is all garbage. So I don't know. I made it worse. I was angry, so we got pizza in.
Yeah,
and got Kippers in.
Good idea.
And we played some Rogue Stormers.
Yeah,
what on earth is that?
His suggestion. Yeah, what on earth is that indeed? It's sort of a co-op rogue-like platformer shooter. Throwing some more genre tags here.
Yeah, it's vaguely like Rogue Legacy, but with shooter.
Yeah, sort of dual stick shooting, I guess. But you're moving around platforminess, so you're running
traps and stuff.
Yeah,
and a boss, and it's randomly.
The layout of the levels is being generated each time. There's a bit of light progression at the end of the stage. Your character gets a boost for the next run you do,
and you find random shit along the way.
Yeah, it's one of those, and it seems like a fairly okay one of those. But classically, this wouldn't be me talking about it if I didn't have some nitpicks. It's like I think the first one was the one that Zach had as well, and that the visual style doesn't really work in its favour. I think it's a bit busy, hard to see sometimes where the enemies are, where your shots are, how to distinguish your shots among your friends' shots, so you can see what you're shooting at. I think there are certain blood effects that just basically ended up smearing, so you couldn't see where anything was behind the things you'd killed. And it's like it's just a little bit of a mess, and it's sort of 2.5D, and it's only running at 30 frames per second, so there's a little bit of a sort of clarity thing, as if they'd gone like pixel art and it would have been nice and clear and stuff, or even not pixel art, just done everything flat, probably would have been clearer. So yeah, that. There's also it doesn't seem to be a great deal of variation in the enemies that you're facing, or I will say one thing in its favour. Like while I'm in the middle of nitpicking, is like I think when I was playing Flint Hook fairly recently, the some of the stuff in that, when I thought the rogue-ish elements to it didn't vary enough.
Right.
The things you picked up didn't feel crazy enough. The things are like, and at least in this, that does feel like there's more variation in the stuff you can pick up. It's like, oh hey, I've got a little bot that's following me around that shoots stuff, or that weird gun you had that created little spirals of bullets every now and then.
Yes.
There was some weird stuff going on, and it's like I can appreciate that. Or it's like wow, there's a double jump as a pickup. It's like that's cool. That's actually useful.
That's cool.
So yeah, it had some of that element to it. So it's hard to be too rough on it in some ways, because it's probably better than some other games. But its progression is kind of screwed as well. I kind of thought we'd all sign in and all get a character and all have our progressions, but only the primary player gets progression, and only on the character that they're playing as. So as you unlock more characters, you can't buff them in co-op sessions unless your teammates are, unless the primary player is playing as that character. So you're only ever buffing one character each run, and it's like that seems like a bit of a failure. It's like maybe I reckon that's probably not how it works online, and that this was just
you would hope,
and that this was just a crappy way of implementing couch co-op.
Well, and maybe you can tell that as well by the fact that you only start with one character. So
Yeah,
everyone has to be the same character to start with.
Yeah,
you don't even have a choice.
But then once you get multiples, it's like, oh right, yeah, of course this progression isn't going to work, is it? So that seems somewhat badly thought through, honestly. Badly thought through enough to the point where I thought, should we be playing something else like co-op in this style? Like, is this actually a single-player game? Really? There's probably better things we could play on in that style, and everyone get progression and feel good about it.
Possibly.
Neon Chrome. Remember when I talked about that? I think that has better progression system. Anyway, yeah, that was that weird thing.
Yeah.
Add that to the list.
Yeah.
Of games we've played ever.
I guess.
Wasn't exactly a checkbox we wanted to check, but all right, it's there now.
Coolio.
And then I guess I played that patch for Surviving Mars did come out.
Oh yeah.
So I went, and thankfully it did actually manage to fix the save file in the save file for that weird infinite rockets bug I was having.
Yeah.
With the mystery, which was nice. I didn't have to start over or even go back. I just loaded the save that was like just before the last rocket had launched, and then it all worked. I had to redo the research to trigger the things to complete, but that was fine. Slightly inconvenient because I'd already done that research, and the cost of the research increased each time you do it. So I had to do like extra long versions of that research, but that was fine.
You could at least finish it all off.
Yes, and it turned out it didn't matter anyway because contrary to what I thought, there wasn't even an achievement attached to that specific mystery, because I think that was one of the easy ones, and I think only the medium and hard ones have achievements. So it didn't matter that I couldn't complete that rocket.
Yeah, but you know now.
Yes, exactly.
You know.
And also I took
that... You feel good inside.
I took that, because that save had been going so well anyway, I was like, I can take this as an opportunity to do some of the other achievements, maybe. Some of the late game progress achievements, building the wonders and all that stuff. So I haven't quite finished or got as far as I probably could. And I also did have a chance to experiment with the tunnels and connecting the domes and stuff. Because actually I'd sort of been planning for that. I don't know if I I guess I must have known about the tunnels coming before I even started this game. Because up to this point in the game, I'd only been building the smallest kinds of domes. I'd just been building like multiple of them and having them quite specialized. So that was still working with the people walking between the domes. But I was like, I've been planning ahead for like, at some point, I'm just going to basically demolish all of the stuff that I've built up to this point pretty much and just build new big domes and like connected domes and move everybody into them. So started doing that and it worked pretty good. The dome connection thing is kind of nice, although I still didn't plan well enough. I was like, I only need a small dome for the child dome where all the schools and nurseries are going to be.
Child dome.
But it turns out you don't need just a small dome, you need a slightly larger than small dome, so I'll probably have to build a secondary one.
2 child domes.
Yep. Secondary
Double
child
dome.
But yeah, apart from that, it's the only problem with this patch versus the save file is it looks like, as far as I can tell, some of the stuff that got added in the patch doesn't automatically go into old save files. There's meant to be like a new kind of storage depot and something else that I've forgotten.
Oh, I see what you mean. So if you've started a game without them, they're not going to just become part of the list of stuff you can
like
do.
the tunnels appeared, but for some reason this new storage depot. Oh, and there's the end game thing where like you get these special buildings which basically don't have any function except for people to work in them. They're like artist studios and stuff. It's like basically the culture where like once you've got through the struggle of surviving, now you can have people doing non-survival based jobs, like being artists and musicians and stuff. And then like the end game goal is like get 40% of your population just working not in jobs that you need to survive, and that's how you win essentially. But those buildings don't appear to be in a save file either. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not 100% sure that's the case because it's possible that those might not unlock until you finish the tech tree.
Oh, I see.
Because that would make sense.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't want anyone not understanding that that's what those buildings are for, and like wasting resources building them too early or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. So I might see about that. But yeah, definitely it seems like the storage depots aren't there because they're meant to have a technology in the tech tree to unlock them, and it doesn't appear to be there. So I'm not going to get those, which is a shame because I've got a ton of stuff stored all over the place. Basically, I'd start because when I made these new specific domes that were for specific things, like this is the food dome. It's like here's my massive storage files, just multiple storage files of just food. Whereas if I had these new storage areas, you could probably just build one. It'd be all good. But no, have to be annoyed by ridiculous multiples of the storage pallets. Not that I necessarily need to store that much food. Always the problem I have with it's a problem that the game sort of has with like telling you about food, which is that you can when you look in the resource list and you're like, okay, if I hover over the resources, it tells me more detailed information. And it's like if you look at say metal, it's like here's how much you produced, here's how much you used, here's how much was used on maintenance, and it's like okay, so I can see if that's in balance or not. But that is based on the last day. So when it comes to food, where it takes like 5 days for the food to grow, and it creates a huge pile of food at the end of that period, instead of like a per day, it's not really very helpful to see like how much food you used and produced in the last day, because that is not actually how much you would have been producing on average over a day.
Sure. Yeah.
So then you basically have to do the maths yourself to try and work out whether you've got enough food or not. So in the end, you might as well just overproduce and make a shit ton of storage areas. Because it's easier than bothering to do maths. But it would be nice if the game just gave you a more useful, number.
But then maybe that is it one of those things that perhaps diminishes the strategy?
Not really, because it's not like it doesn't tell you it's like here's how many days this crop takes to grow, and here's the yield or the predicted yield at the end of it, which is modified by like if you've got biologists working at the farms, you get bonus yield or whatever.
And then right there, you have an indicator that says how much food you actually need. Is that like overall, or
well, you don't really know how much you need apart from seeing that in the last day I used this much because basically everyone has to eat every day, so that number is functionally how much you need per day.
Yeah, I got you.
So you can just basically do the simple maths and be like, this crop takes 5 days to grow and it produces this much, so divide that much by 5, and then that tells you how much per day, so that tells you how many of those you need. But then you've got crop rotations to worry about, where the different crops make different amounts of food, and because you want to do a crop rotation to maintain the soil quality or whatever, technically you don't have to do that. It seems like you could probably get away with just... You kind of have to... because
all potatoes all the time.
Well, it's like the soil starts off at 50% effectiveness, so then you just grow whatever one of the crops you have available that increases the soil quality. Just do that over and over until it reaches 100, and then just grow something that doesn't affect the soil quality forever.
Okay,
You can probably get away with that.
It's only if you want to grow something that is detrimental.
Yeah, if you want to get bonus food. So you can like alternate apple trees and potatoes, which do plus 10% and minus 10%. So you can get the slight bonus, but then that makes the maths more complicated. So maybe you could just not bother and just grow wheat forever.
I assume there isn't a satisfaction rating.
No, that's another reason that they...
So if you were growing apples and potatoes, it's like, oh, that's interesting. We've got a good combination to go with a nice pork and a nice bit of pork. But if you had just potatoes, and it's like, we've got nothing but bangers and mash forever.
Not even bangers.
Not even bangers. Not even banger buns.
There's no meat.
Banger buns.
It's all vegetables.
Is it?
Yep.
That's the point. What can you do with all those children?
No cannibalism. Except for unless you learn Soylent Green, of course.
Soylent Green.
That's a breakthrough tech, but one of the random extra techs you can get.
Nice.
Like when people die, you just get some extra food.
Nice.
Nice.
Although I think that was the other reason that I wanted to continue this one specific save, is because the random breakthrough text that I got on this run turned out to be like maybe way too powerful. Like I got the Soylent Green, which is kind of irrelevant because I already had so much food. But I also had the one where it's like people eat 25% less, so it's like that makes my food like even more ridiculous. And I got there's 2 separate technologies that makes pipes and cables like no longer need maintenance, and I got both of those.
Nice.
So like my whole pipe and cable network, I can just do whatever the fuck I want with pipes and cables and not have to worry about it. Because normally, like, the larger network you make, the more prone it is to malfunctions and the more resources you have to spend on the maintenance.
Sure.
But now I don't have to worry about that. It just turns that off. So I was like, oh, well, that's good as well. And there's a couple of other ones where, I got the technology where people no longer retire, they just work until they die. So I didn't have to bother about what I usually do, the retirement dome and all that stuff. I was like, oh, don't have to worry about that any longer because everyone just continues working. It was like, well, that's convenient as well. So basically, this save, I kind of feel like I got a really nice combination of the breakthrough text that made it quite easy at a certain point. Where I just reached a certain text where I was like, oh, now I don't have to worry about all this inconvenience that I usually would have to worry about. The retirement dome.
Retirement dome. Care centre dome.
Of course, that was the other reason I was
The care home dome.
why I was hoping for the tunnels, because that also, school dome, retirement dome, university dome, that makes that much easier. You just have them branch off the main dome and have the main dome have all the services and then have the people from the...
I like the word dome.
Yep.
It's also quite satisfying to say.
It's not a B. It's just a D.
Perhaps when we design the Banger Bun restaurant,
It's a dome.
it should be a dome.
Dome.
Should be a dome.
Bag of dome.
Banger Bun dome. Banger Bun dome. That's got cool.
So yeah, there was that. May continue doing runs on that for the achievements. I feel like maybe I need to think about playing in some of the more dangerous areas, because this one run that I was doing specifically, the run with Russia is like one of the hardest mission sponsors. So I specifically chosen a really easy map to like counter it. But I feel like maybe that's too easy. Maybe I do need the occasional disaster to actually shake things up slightly.
Sure. The odd accidental total recall incident.
Yeah, exactly. Meteors hit the dome and then all the oxygen goes away.
No, Arnie's come to visit.
Yep.
Travel.
It's like there's stuff that I haven't even seen. Like supposedly if a meteor hits a fuel depot, it actually explodes. Like it doesn't just destroy it destroys stuff in the vicinity because there's a huge fuel explosion. I haven't actually seen that happen. I haven't actually seen a dust storm because I never chose anywhere with dust storms. Because dust storms seem really inconvenient because they basically turn off your solar panels. for the duration of the dust storm. So you kind of have to not build solar panels as much, or at all, ideally. Build wind power instead.
Invest in wind.
Yep. So there's that.
Build another truck.
And there was one more thing, which I kind of already forgotten. So yeah. I guess that wasn't that important. Whatever it was.
Whatever it was, pick away. Although I've said that before and it ended up being Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I haven't played anymore, by the way.
No.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, and I feel like it was actually something different. Oh, there was a new patch to that Rise to Ruins.
Oh yeah.
The little like half tower defense, half village building thing. The aim of that patch was basically to reduce the amount of stress it puts on your system by basically massively reducing the number of units, but making each individual unit more powerful, including your villagers as well. So, like, each individual villager can now carry multiple items at the same time, so that counteracts the fact that there's less of them.
Sure.
And that kind of stuff. Same with the monsters. There's less of them, but they do more damage and have more health and whatnot. Didn't actually seem to help, though. I got to the point where it was still kind of like every night when all the monsters started spawning, it was like, this is still kind of slowing down a bit. So I don't know whether that really helped or not. And it also altered a few of the other systems, like how the monsters actually spawn and like build. Monsters basically build a base now, instead of just randomly appearing spawners on the map.
So you could go get it.
So they have like an area that they spread out from over time, and more of their spawners start appearing within that zone. That gradually increases.
Is that something you can deal with?
I don't really know. Like, some of your buildings have corruption resistance, which should theoretically prevent the corruption from spreading in that zone. But I don't know what exactly you do to push it back up. I mean, maybe if you destroy the enemy buildings, that undoes the corruption. Kind of hard to tell.
What, a bit like the Zerg creep?
Yeah. Kind of along those lines. So that. I don't think there's anything else apart from Rocket League. Actually.
There's nothing that made you say all units?
No.
Okay. Local units.
Local units. I guess it's my turn then.
Oh wait, I remember. I remember the one last thing, which is also for transferring into Dan, I guess.
Oh, a segue game.
Where I played more Zelda, obviously.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Got through Death Mountain, so now I've only got the desert to go. And I've got like nearly 100 shrines, so I'm pretty much good there as well.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay. You're nearly there.
Yeah. Then I can actually do the DLC. After all this time, do the Champions Balance. I haven't even started yet because I haven't done the Fortified Beasts.
In Master Mode?
Yeah, in Master Mode. And I feel like I've got to the point in Master Mode where I'm actually equipped well enough to deal with most things. Like, I was just killing Lionels to get parts to upgrade the barbarian armor. I was like, yep, this is bearable again. I haven't actually seen a gold one yet, though. Still only seen silvers. Not that will probably make it any more difficult, really. They'll probably just have more health.
Just be longer. Probably break a few more weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've not played the Zelda DLC because I've been playing my PlayStation instead. Yeah.
How's that Uncharted treating you?
Good, yeah. Still, like, ridiculously good looking. I don't know how they managed to put so much effort into all the environments and stuff. Like, I kept thinking, this game's got to be really short, right? Because everything looks awesome. But no, it's carrying on, which is good. And the story is developing, which is cool. It's still like
said last time, those games are always surprisingly long, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're a little bit longer than you thought they're going to be.
Than you expect, yeah. So it's good amount of meat. And of course this one has like vehicles, unlike the previous one. So so had fun driving around in the 4x4 and then
is that
now
the sequence we saw at E3? That's
yeah, there's that one.
Advertised sequence, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's like an earlier one where you drive around like quite a large area, which like is kind of weird because it kind of feels open world, even though it isn't. And so you're like, if you're like me, you're constantly thinking, where's where's the edge of the world? And they've disguised it really well. Yeah, exactly. But it makes it fairly clear. But like it's like drive up to an obvious enemy encounter zone and do that stuff. And the stealth stuff in it is a little bit better than in previous games. Like it's not bad. You've got like long grass now to hide in and pull enemies into and stuff. And I think the stealth is better than the actual combat. I don't understand why they can't get the shooting just a little bit better. Like for some reason, like the guns are just too inaccurate to actually have a satisfying, like, if I keep thinking all the time, like if I only had the like Halo pistol, I'd be blowing these guys away right now, but now I can barely shoot them when they're right in front of me. It's very annoying. And then later on, of course, I remember from Uncharted 2, oh yeah, you get enemies that are like armored and they're basically like tanks. Like they're slow moving and then they take a lot of hits. And it's like, this is a bit silly, but I guess it works. I mean, it makes sense in terms of the action movie type thing.
Yeah.
But then I'm just like,
usually an action movie has like one of these guys.
Yeah, exactly. And this has got like multiple. But generally, you can just like run around and run rings around them basically, rather than trying to do the cover shooting with them doesn't work so well.
Unless they're at the end of a train, you have to get down.
Yeah, and then you're in trouble. Yeah, I haven't had any trains yet, but what there is it's been pretty good. Yeah, it looks crazy. Yeah, and then the other thing was I got Wipeout, like I was saying, that I wanted to, and yeah, that's pretty great. I mean, it collects all the best Wipeout games, right? In many ways, it's got Wipeout HD.
It collects two of them, technically.
Well, it's got HD and Fury and 2048.
Fury was effectively the add-on to Wipeout.
Yeah. So I guess it's got Pure and some of Pulse and 2048, right? Is that right?
No, well, maybe. Yeah, HD was the original Wipeout HD was in itself a sort of greatest hits.
Yeah, exactly.
With some new stuff. But most of it were tracks from previous games.
Right, exactly.
From I think from quite a long way back in some cases. Like,
so this is like a greatest hits of a greatest hits kind of thing. So in some ways, it's like a really good package. There's definitely tracks missing though from those old games that I would have liked to have seen. But overall, there's quite a lot of tracks in this because it's a collection of so many different games. And the 2048 stuff is pretty good, I have to say.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because it's quite different.
Yeah, it's quite different. Like it's more kind of F1 feeling, I guess that's the idea. Smaller ships and stuff, but the handling is like it's quite nice. I quite like it.
I do think it's strange. I think I was a little disappointed when I found out that game like straight up segregates that stuff though.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
You can't take like the HD Fury cars onto a 2048 track and things like that. It's like the mechanics don't work out that way. No,
they're like quite different. But that's okay. You just flick between the games basically, which works quite well for quite a lot of variety. And they each have like zone modes, and they have slightly different combat modes as well. 2048's got slightly different combat mode. Although I'd rather just do the races, to be honest. And with the like elite skill enemies or whatever, like they're pretty hard, even on the lower tiers like speeds. It's not like you're playing Vector or something and you're definitely going to win the race immediately.
Win by miles,
yeah. It's not like that at all. So that I've had to like restart, especially because there aren't that many laps on the earlier stuff. So you have to win from the back quite quickly. Yeah. So
I think in those, from what I remember in the old games, is sometimes fairly dependent on the game giving you decent amounts of the boost power up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the boost power up is ridiculously good. But there's a lot of boost pads in the 2048. Like, there's a lot that you'll miss, and it's quite hard to hit them all. So that actually does make quite a lot of difference. And it's very frustrating when you just skirt the edge of a boost pad and don't hit it. Which happens quite a lot.
And also, some of the visual style on 2048 actually made that sometimes a little unnecessarily hard because the boost pads aren't quite so obvious as they have been in previous ones.
Not quite, yeah. But the sound design is amazing. Like when you hit them and stuff, and especially when like the your rival ships come up beside you and stuff, like the 3D sound or whatever. The general engine sounds and stuff in that are really good. So I was impressed by that. And the other thing is the soundtrack in the game is pretty good, but obviously limited, right? You're not going to have all the stuff.
It's a bit of a shame because some of the what I would call the heavy hitters from the HD and Fury soundtrack are noticeably missing.
Right.
However, most of the Noisia stuff, for instance, is gone. And it's like, that's a shame. I'm a big fan of Noisia, so it's like that's a kick for me. And
even with all of them, when they have really good soundtracks, like they start to get repetitive after a while. Obviously, playing a lot of the game. However, I was impressed by how easy it is on the PlayStation 4 to remedy this by installing the Spotify app, and it actually integrates really well. Like the game knows, it's like the old Xbox 360 stuff.
Cool.
Like
so it's like stopping and starting tracks and syncing it all nice. Or is it just playing?
It is just playing, but at least it doesn't really matter too much when it's playing over the loading screens and the menus in Wipeout. Like having it playing continuously isn't actually that bad.
No, for Wipeout, it's kind of ideal. And in fact, I think like Wipeout 3, actually just straight up just did that. It just always had the music playing.
So the upshot is like all you have to do is the only thing it doesn't have is like music effects or whatever, where it like when a weapon goes off, it actually changes the EQ and stuff.
Because it has the flying through the air high pass, doesn't it? As well,
which is cool. So that's gone. But it does mean you can all you do is you install the Spotify app, you go on Spotify and you look for the 3 Wipeout playlists that they seem to exist. One of them's an official one, and one of them just has like 400 tracks of Wipeout music basically, and goes for like 250 hours or something, or however long it is. And you just stick that on shuffle or whatever, and you're never going to run out of Wipeouty music really. So that actually works really well. And the official playlist on Spotify from this Omega collection has licensed stuff that they couldn't license for the game, but if you're paying for Spotify, then they can add that to a playlist.
They could just make a playlist, yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
So that.
So if you're paying, they can only do that if you're a subscriber. So a free user couldn't access that.
I think that's true. Yeah. So I'm a Spotify subscriber personally, so that works out well for me. But I don't know if there's an equivalent. There might be an equivalent app for I don't know, Apple Music or whatever else you're using. But if you have Spotify like me, then it actually works really well. And you can even control it from using Spotify Connect, which is the thing where every Spotify app can control whatever's playing on your account, which is pretty good. So I could actually play and pause and skip tracks on my phone, for example, while playing and while it's coming out of the PlayStation.
That's a cool feature.
It's a cool feature of Spotify in general. Like thinking about it, I have like my PC, my phone, my iPad, and then I've got 2 Sonos speakers and the Google Chromecast thing, and now the PlayStation, and I can sort of control playback from each of them on each of them.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
It's basically doing the Apple Music thing, but it's just in an app.
Exactly. It works really well.
Does it do the thing? Does it allow you to do the syncing thing? Because that's always like I love that stuff where it's like, hey, I want all my devices to be playing it in sync everywhere.
I think you just select a source, so it doesn't play from 2 at once. I've seen, but maybe you can. You just change the source. Yeah.
Yeah, because my NAS drive supports something similar from the app. Like you say, hey, go, but it does it. It's all sort of AirPlay connected. My thing, so it's right. I can still do the multiple sources thing. I just can't do that from the app. I have to have defined what those multiple sources are on my NAS drive and basically just pick everything.
Yeah,
and then just so yeah. That sounds pretty cool. It's like it's most of the way there.
It's really good, actually. I really wish Netflix had the same feature because, like, if you play something in Netflix on a web browser or whatever, and then you open the app, it isn't aware that you're playing Netflix in the web browser, whereas Spotify cottons onto it, and that would be so cool if you could control. The only way I can do it from my phone is I have to cast to the TV from the phone, and then it's aware. But even then, it sometimes loses the connection. Carries on playing on the TV, but you can no longer pause it from the phone because it seems to have got
weird.
Yeah, and it's like I don't have any of these problems with Spotify. So, and I also find the Spotify app has problems. Like there's stuff I don't like about the Spotify interface. but and also the app is really slow to start on my phone. But I think I just need a new phone. But that part, the kind of Spotify Connect syncy thing, is really, really good. Anyway, yeah, Wipeout. It's a good time. It looks really good.
Did you really play much of the HD and Fury collection at the time? Did you? I mean, you played.
Well, I didn't have a PlayStation 3. Yeah, I just had Pure and Pulse on the PSP, and then I had, that was my main time playing Wipeout. But some of these tracks I know and recognize from that time that were in HD.
Absolutely. Some of that busy UI stuff is it's still a bit weird, I think, in HD.
Yeah,
Fury, the sort of UI, the sort of the HUD.
The HUD,
doesn't really do much for me.
No, I get a bit lost with the weapons on the HUD and stuff.
Yeah. But it's. I found myself in a somewhat irritating place. I remember playing that at the time because it was like, the HUD is a bit cluttered, not designed all that well, but it does show absolutely everything you'd want to see.
You need to
and
know,
the original version of Wipeout HD had the option to unlock the Wipeout 3 HUD,
right?
Which is really cool and looks badass, but is actually missing some useful visual elements. Yeah, and it's just like, you know what? I probably should play with the HD HUD.
Like the Plasma Blast graphics aren't that good. I don't know if that was true in HD because I remember them being quite dramatic in Wipeout Pure and stuff.
Oh, in some of the earlier Wipeouts, that was where they threw their effect budget.
Yeah, like the frame rate dropped every time anyone used a Plasma Blast.
Because I think some of them had like the early like distortion effects on them and things like that. Like it would look like everything was sucking into it, and it would look really weird.
It was kind of cool. Yeah. So Wipeout. I'm glad I have that, so I can play Wipeout whenever I want. I'm sure I probably won't go all the way through every campaign. In a row like this, I'll probably just keep dipping into it. It's a good
there's a good chance they're not going to make another one anytime soon. So
no, I think this is it for Wipeout probably. But that's fine. It's a good one to end on.
Yeah, it's a really good one, and as I say, 2048 is refreshingly good.
It's not bad.
Given that wouldn't have had much of an audience on the Vita, so it's
exactly. So it's good to get a good version of it that you can play, and those tracks look probably the nicest because they've been, even though they were for the Vita, they have a bit more detail in and stuff because it's like real world cities and stuff. To some extent, looks a bit more like something like, New York race, I guess.
Well, yeah. I see what you mean. There's more of a parallel to what a city might actually be like, I guess, rather than some of the more abstract-y stuff from from the later Wipeout editions.
There's a ridiculous number of ships in the 2048 roster because like every team seems to have like five different variants. There's like everyone has like a more weapons oriented one or a more speed oriented one or whatever.
That was sort of true of HD and Fury as well. There was like three. I think HD had 3 variants for each of the main teams, but then Fury added another couple to that. And the Fury ones were just straight up upgrades.
Right, yeah.
Which was a little strange. And I think most of those are unlocked from the get-go in this package, which is a little strange.
Yeah. Well, all the 2048 ones are locked, so I'm having to unlock those. But the HD and Fury ones seem to be a bit more open.
Yeah, because I think you had to. Most of them were just skins or something or slight variations, but they were like hidden unlock conditions for a lot of them, or they were loyalty unlocks. Because it had one of those systems. It's like keep playing with this guy forever, and then you'll eventually get more stuff. And then eventually, I think you unlocked the ability to play as like the zone version or zone colored version of those ships as well. So you got like a cell shaded one, which was kind of cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the zone is kind of cool because like there's like the zone in 2048 looks different to the zone ones in the HD. Although that looks like quite trippy, to be honest. Like I can see why. I think they had problems releasing the game because of like seizure warnings and stuff, and they had to tone it down. Yeah, apparently. Which I don't blame people for that. Yeah, it went a little bit far, but still, it's a cool mode. And I think, and also of course, the PlayStation controller D-pad is the ideal way to play Wipeout. It's just, I'd want all digital really for Wipeout. So the analog Would you agree?
Actually,
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I think I played stick, but
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
yeah, I can't really remember.
Oh no, I think I need digital for Wipeout.
But you're having the Ridge Racer effect.
Yeah, I would prefer to have like digital, bumpers actually for not bumpers. What they call triggers.
Triggers. Yeah.
But never mind, it's fine. You can adjust the sensitivity on them, but I haven't had much luck changing that to anything else. It's mainly the problem for the air brakes is doing the double tap of the dodge. Yeah. I sometimes like come out of a corner after air braking and then want to do a double tap and it doesn't quite register, and that's kind of annoying. But I think maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I don't remember really using that all that much.
Yeah, I mean
on the PS3 version.
I used to do it on the PSP. Obviously, that was all digital, so I think that's what I'm used to.
Still, cool beans.
Yeah, cool beans.
Wipeout.
So I will get.
Should still be a thing. Shouldn't have closed that studio.
Well, it's fine. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know what else they would do at this point. So, yeah.
F-Zero.
F-Zero. Yeah, exactly.
Get hired by Nintendo. Except if Formula Fusion was anything to go by, don't get hired by Nintendo. Yeah.
Apparently, don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's me.
For
the time being.
We might be done then.
Indeed.
Might be done.
And around the right time. Got any more YouTube vids on the way?
Well, given that I put Sonic Colors up last week.
Oh, yeah, saw that.
And I had originally got out ahead of myself and said, hey, Revolt's going up. It's like, Revolt's going to be the next one.
Look out for Revolt. That'll be good.
Yeah. Because Zach and I, we used our buffer last week. We didn't record anymore, so we don't know what's coming after Revolt. No. There's some tricks apparently to getting Sonic Colors to run at 60 frames per second in the Dolphin emulator, so I might give those a go. So you might see Sonic Colors better than it originally, even better than it was originally.
Improved speed and smoothness.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I might tinker around with that. See how
for
that
part
comes
3,
out.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. But check out part 2 now, listeners.
I feel like we should probably get on and make a Star Wars Episode 1 video. Well, it's sort of timely, except it'll be a month later.
Yeah, exactly.
So 1 racer. Oh, I'd watch that. That would be good.
Chubadanoia.
I also would like to plug a friend's podcast. Oh, yes.
What?
My friend David there has started a new podcast about Animal Crossing. So
is he paying us?
Check it out on iTunes. It's called Ass Town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had some trouble trying to get it into the iTunes store because they
I'm sure.
But he managed to justify it, so it's on there.
Are you sure this isn't porn?
It's definitely not. In fact, it's much more safe for work than our podcast, I would say, because it's been put together as like an actual like radio show, properly edited and everything. So I would definitely check that out.
Are you saying this is not? It's not. It's not.
It's not. It's got logged.
At all.
Yeah. So check out Asstown on iTunes or other places where podcasts are available.
I hope this plug works both ways, by the way. I didn't sign up to this.
I don't think it will, but never mind. We shall see. Maybe it shall. Yeah, check it out. It's good so far.
This is beginning to feel like the time you shunned me with your Splatoon 2 players. I haven't forgotten.
Well, you know, I like a bit of online multiplayer, but I don't like going on too long. That's my problem. I need to go. I need to have bounds on it. Basically,
boundaries.
Yeah. If I play with you guys in Sega, it's like never needs to go to sleep, so it just gonna go on forever.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
I do have to tear myself away from Rocket League.
Yeah. Well, eventually we came to the conclusion that we had to implement the midnight rule in Rocket League, where you should just stop at midnight regardless of what's going on.
We should.
We should, but we don't.
We don't.
Yeah, that would be no good for me. It would need to be like the 11 o'clock rule for me.
Sometimes that's when we start.
Yeah, exactly. So that won't work. Anyway, never mind. Cool. Right. Check those out. And we'll be back with another podcast in a couple of weeks. I don't know when E3 is. It's coming soon.
Like 2 or 3 more podcasts, right? It's got to be June, late June.
Yeah, something like
Oh,
that.
it's quite late then. Okay, cool.
Did you hear that Microsoft aren't doing any floor activity at E3 this year? They're like,
Late news from Rob from far away.
yeah, hang on, I'm gonna come back from Mexico. I'm gonna. Yeah, they're not doing any like games on the floor. They've just basically said all their space is going to be for streamers and Mixer.
Okay, but what are the streamers going to be streaming?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's they're not.
Or Minecraft.
Yeah, I think they've said they're probably going to go do their own event at some point, a little bit like
Because
PSX.
everyone has to do their own goddamn event.
But they're not going to give up their booth on the floor
Well, no, naturally.
because they'll never get it back. But yeah, it is weird. It is a weird thing. They're not going to be there for realsies. We'll still get the show, which is all we care about.
Yeah. And all our extended notes on the show, which you will enjoy.
Full conference coverage.
But we'll be back with a standard Saladcast in a couple of weeks.
Eurovision next week.
Yeah, I thought that was coming up.
Hell
important.
yeah.
Looking forward
Hell
to dissecting Eurovision with you, Rob.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to
Yeah.
be great. I'm so hype. Channel 5 had a terrible when Eurovision goes horribly wrong show last night. Like, it was really bad, actually. But, those shows always are. But that show went horribly wrong.
Ironic.
Ironic.
I'm
Goodbye,
done.
listeners.
Okay, good.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.